A Very Chestnut Christmas. A Chestnut Creek Holiday Romance. Written by Susanne Ash. Chapter 1. Sadie. The string of cranberry red lights flickers twice before dying completely, leaving my bakery's front window looking like a gap-toothed smile. I blow a lock of honey blonde hair out of my face and reach for the spare strand of lights I keep behind the register. The third backup set this week. That's what I get for ordering the cheap stuff. Come on, I mutter, untangling the lights with fingers that smell like cinnamon and vanilla. Just hold together until after the contest. The sweet life needs this win. The decorating contest isn't about a big cash prize. It's about the kind of publicity that could carry a small bakery through the lean months after the holidays. In a town like Chestnut Creek, word of mouth is everything, and winning means everyone from here to Asheville will know about my gingerbread cookies and morning cinnamon rolls. I step back to survey my handiwork. Garland drapes around the doorframe, dotted with tiny silver bells that actually jingle when the door opens. The window display showcases a gingerbread village I spent 3 evenings constructing, complete with icing snow and candy cane streetlights. Mason jars filled with peppermint bark line the shelves, tied with red ribbons that match the new lights I'm hanging. It's cheerful. Festive. Maybe even magical. It has to be enough. The commercial oven chooses that exact moment to let out a wheeze that sounds like a dying walrus. I freeze, light still in hand, as the familiar rumble I've grown to depend on stutters and stops. No. I abandon the decorating and rush to the back, where my temperamental oven is having another moment. The digital display flickers between numbers like it's trying to decide what temperature it wants to be. Not today. Please, not today. I have 24 sugar cookies in there. A special order for the Martins' anniversary party tomorrow. Plus a batch of my signature snickerdoodles that a regular Joe ordered for their afternoon rush. And if this thing dies completely? I press the reset button and hold my breath. The oven hums reluctantly back to life, the temperature slowly climbing toward 350 degrees. Relief floods through me, followed immediately by the familiar knot of anxiety that's taken up permanent residence in my stomach. 5 years I've been pouring everything into this place. 5 years of early mornings and late nights, of learning to fix broken mixers and negotiate with suppliers who sometimes forget that small businesses exist. 5 years of building something that's finally starting to feel stable. The bell above my front door chimes, and I paste on my brightest smile before emerging from the kitchen. Mrs. Martin stands at the counter, her silver hair perfectly styled despite the December wind outside. Sadie, dear. I just wanted to confirm the pickup time for tomorrow's cookies. 2 o'clock works perfectly, I assure her, wiping flour from my hands on my apron. Anniversary cookies shaped like hearts, decorated with your wedding colors. I'll have them fresh from the oven and ready to go. You're such a treasure. Mrs. Martin beams at me, then glances around at my decorations. And this place looks absolutely magical. You're going to win that contest for sure. The warmth in her voice almost makes me believe it. Almost. But I know my competition. Chestnut Creek Candle Company has those gorgeous window displays that look like something from a magazine, and in retrospect always goes all out with their vintage holiday theme. My little bakery with its homemade decorations feels sweet but simple in comparison. I hope so, I say, and mean it more than she probably realizes. I know so. She digs around her purse and drops a penny into the voting jar on the counter. After Mrs. Martin leaves, I return to my lights, determined to make every corner of this place sparkle. The contest voting starts tomorrow, and I have one shot to prove that the sweet life deserves to be here. That I deserve to be here. The oven wheezes again, and I close my eyes for just a moment, sending up a little prayer to whatever patron saint watches over struggling bakers and their dying equipment. Hold on a little longer. That's all I need. By 4 o'clock, I'm ready to deliver the snickerdoodles to a regular Joe and grab some caffeine while I'm at it. I box up the 24 cookies, still warm and dusted with cinnamon sugar, and flip the sign to back in 15 minutes, before heading down Main Street. The coffee shop buzzes with afternoon energy, laptops open at corner tables, the hiss of the espresso machine mixing with holiday music playing softly overhead. Joe himself waves from behind the counter as I approach with the bakery box. Perfect timing, he says, already reaching for a cup. The afternoon crowd's been asking about those snickerdoodles. Peppermint mocha with extra whip? You know me too well. I smile, grateful for the kind of familiarity that only comes from 5 years of being a regular somewhere. This is what I love about Chestnut Creek. The way people remember your coffee order, ask about your day, notice when your bakery lights aren't working quite right. I'm settling the delivery details with Joe when I hear the familiar grumble from the corner booth near the window. Seriously, who decided that every available surface in this town needed to be covered in glitter? Wes Parker sits across from his sister Abby, gesturing toward the festive garland draped around the coffee shop's windows. It's like a craft store exploded. Abby laughs, wrapping her hands around a steaming mug. Oh, come on. It's festive. It's excessive. Wes runs a hand through his short dark hair, leaving it slightly mussed. Even sitting down, he looks solid and dependable in that flannel shirt and work jacket. He's the kind of guy who fixes things without being asked and never makes a big deal about it. And half of those outdoor displays are fire hazards waiting to happen. You should see some of the electrical work people are trying to pass off as holiday magic. I've known Wes for the better part of 5 years, ever since I moved to Chestnut Creek. He's the guy who quietly fixed my bakery's front step when it started wobbling, who salts the sidewalks before the morning rush, who somehow always shows up when businesses need help with practical problems they can't solve themselves. He's also the guy who's been grumbling about Christmas decorations since approximately November 1st. You know what your problem is? Abby leans back in her seat, her brown curls bouncing as she shakes her head. You've forgotten how to enjoy anything. I enjoy plenty of things, Wes protests. Coffee. Quiet. Days when I don't have to untangle 12 miles of Christmas lights from the town square fountain because someone thought stringing them underwater would look whimsical. Practical things, Abby clarifies. When's the last time you did something just because it was fun? Wes opens his mouth to respond, then closes it again, looking genuinely stumped. That's what I thought. Abby grins, and I can see the mischief building in her expression. She gets that same look when she's organizing the library's summer reading programs. Like she's about to issue a challenge nobody can refuse. I dare you to make it through the rest of December without a single holiday complaint. What? Wes nearly chokes on his coffee. That's impossible. It's 3 weeks, Abby says calmly. Surely you can find something to appreciate about Christmas for 3 weeks. Especially since. She pauses, her expression softening slightly. Well, this might be your last Chestnut Creek Christmas for a while. Might as well try to enjoy it. And if I lose? Wes asks, though he already sounds resigned to whatever punishment his sister has in mind. You have to MC the Christmas Eve festival, Abby says without hesitation. In full costume. Elf hat included. The mental image of gruff, practical Wes Parker in an elf hat, speaking into a microphone in front of the entire town, is so absurd that I nearly laugh out loud. Abby glances at her watch and pushes back from the table. I need to get back to the library. Think about it, Wes. No complaints for 3 weeks. How hard could it be? She gathers her things and heads for the door, pausing only to wave at me before disappearing into the late afternoon snow. Wes sits alone now, staring into his coffee cup like it might contain answers to life's great mysteries. There's something almost defeated in his posture that tugs at something in my chest. Before I can talk myself out of it, I'm walking over to his table. Mind if I sit? I ask, gesturing to the chair Abby just vacated. Wes looks up, his hazel eyes widening slightly. Sure. How's the contest prep going? Good. Stressful. The usual. I settle into the chair, wrapping my hands around my still warm mug. I couldn't help overhearing your sister's bet. Wes winces. Yeah. Well. Abby's always been the optimistic one in the family. And you don't think you can do it? Go 3 weeks without complaining about Christmas? Honestly? He lets out a short laugh that doesn't hold much humor. I give myself maybe 2 days before I crack. Those bells on all the business doors are going to drive me insane, and don't get me started on whoever decided to put speakers in the lampposts playing carols on repeat. I bite back a smile. Those were both my suggestions to the town council. What if you had help? I ask, the idea forming as I speak. Help? Someone to coach you through it. Show you the parts of Christmas that aren't about excessive glitter or questionable electrical work. Wes stares at me like I've just offered to teach his dog calculus. You want to coach me? Through Christmas? Why not? My confidence builds as the idea takes shape. I mean, who better to help someone find their holiday spirit than someone who's professionally cheerful about Christmas? Sadie. He runs a hand through his hair again, and I notice the way it sticks up slightly in the back. That's really nice of you to offer, but you've got your own contest to worry about. You don't need to waste time on a lost cause. There's something vulnerable in the way he says lost cause that makes my chest tighten. Like he genuinely believes he's beyond help. What if I told you it wouldn't be a waste of time? I lean forward slightly. Think of it as a holiday project. We start small. Some cookie decorating, a little tree shopping. Low-pressure Christmas activities designed to prove that the holidays don't have to be stressful or overwhelming. Wes is quiet for a long moment, studying my face like he's trying to figure out what my angle is. Why would you want to do this? The honest answer is that I'm not entirely sure. Maybe it's because I've been wound so tight about the contest that I need a distraction. Maybe it's because the idea of him leaving town creates an unexpected hollow feeling in my chest. Or maybe it's because, underneath all that grumbling, I've caught glimpses of someone who could actually enjoy Christmas if he gave it a real chance. Because everyone deserves to find a little magic in the holidays, I say finally. Even grumpy sanitation workers who think glitter is a public menace. That surprises a genuine laugh out of him, and the sound does something warm and fluttery to my stomach. So? I hold out my hand across the table. Partners? Wes stares at my outstretched hand for a long moment. Then, slowly, he reaches out and shakes it. His grip is firm and warm, calloused from years of practical work. Partners, he agrees, though he still sounds like he's not entirely sure what he's gotten himself into. Neither am I, honestly. But as his fingers linger against mine for just a beat longer than necessary, I have the strangest feeling that this might be the best impulsive decision I've made in years.
Chapter 2. Wes. The veterinary clinic looks like Christmas threw up all over it. Tinsel drapes from every available surface, twinkling lights outline the reception desk, and Jingle Bell Rock plays on repeat from speakers that must have been strategically placed to achieve maximum holiday cheer saturation. Even the fake tree in the corner is decorated with pet-themed ornaments including tiny bones and fire hydrants that jingle when anyone walks past. I shift in the plastic waiting room chair, trying to ignore the way the lights keep blinking in my peripheral vision. Crumpet sits beside me, perfectly calm despite the sensory overload. The big mutt has always been better at rolling with life's punches than I am. Mr. Parker and Crumpet? The receptionist calls out, checking her clipboard. Dr. Galloway will be ready in just a few more minutes. I nod and scratch behind Crumpet's ears. He's due for his annual shots, which he tolerates better than I tolerate the clinic's decorating choices. That's a good-looking dog, says the woman sitting across from me, holding a small carrier with what appears to be a very unhappy cat inside. What kind of mix is he? Your guess is as good as mine, I say, giving Crumpet another scratch. Found him as a puppy about 3 years ago, half drowned in a storm drain. The vet figured he was maybe 8 weeks old then. Ah, a rescue. The woman smiles. Those always make the best companions. He's certainly grown into those paws. I glance down at Crumpet, who's now a solid 80 pounds of shaggy brown loyalty. The lights blink again in my peripheral vision, and I bite back a comment about seizure warnings. My phone buzzes with a text from Abby, day 1 of the bet. How's it going? I text back, define going. The response comes immediately, Still have complaints rattling around in that head of yours? Before I can type a reply about the musical assault currently happening overhead, my phone rings. Abby's name lights up the screen. "Let me guess," she says without waiting for a hello. "You're somewhere decorated within an inch of its life and fighting the urge to comment on fire safety codes." I glance around the tinsel-draped clinic. "How did you?" "Because I know you. And because it's been exactly 18 hours since you agreed to this bet. I figured you'd be struggling by now." "I'm not struggling," I lie, as Jingle Bell Rock starts its third rotation. "I'm adapting." "Aha. What's playing in the background?" "Nothing. Wes." "Holiday music," I admit through gritted teeth. Abby's laugh is bright and knowing. "And you're not complaining about it?" "I'm practicing strategic silence." "Good man. See? You can do this. Just think about that elf hat every time you want to grumble about something festive." The mental image of myself in pointed green shoes addressing the Christmas Eve crowd is enough to make me swallow whatever observation I was about to make about the volume level. "You know," Abby continues, "maybe this bet will actually help you figure out what you want to do about that job offer. Sometimes a change of perspective makes everything clearer." I glance around the clinic, wondering if there's any possible perspective that would make this level of tinsel seem reasonable. Right now the only thing that's clear is that whoever decorated this place has never heard of subtlety. "Wes," Abby warns. "That wasn't a complaint. That was an observation." "Crumpet?" Dr. Galloway appears in the doorway, clipboard in hand. I hold up one finger to signal I need a minute. "Abby, I have to." "Just remember the bet," she says cheerfully. "And maybe give that coaching idea some thought. Sadie Graham knows more about Christmas spirit than anyone in town." She hangs up before I can ask how she knows about Sadie's offer, leaving me staring at my phone and wondering when my little sister developed psychic powers. "Mr. Parker?" Dr. Galloway tries again. "Ready for Crumpet's checkup?" I stand, and Crumpet immediately falls into step beside me. As we follow the vet down the hallway, past even more twinkling lights and holiday music, I try to imagine making it through 3 weeks without commenting on any of it. The thought alone makes me want to complain. The sweet life smells like cinnamon and vanilla when I push through the door, Crumpet padding alongside me. The little bells Abby mentioned jangle overhead, and I manage not to wince at the sound. "Barely." "Wes." Sadie looks up from behind the counter, her face lighting up with genuine pleasure. There's flour in her honey blonde hair and frosting on her apron, but she's smiling like seeing me just made her entire day. "Perfect timing. I was hoping you'd stop by." I glance around the bakery, taking in the garland draped around the windows and the gingerbread village in the front display. It's festive without being overwhelming. The kind of decorating that actually enhances the space instead of attacking it with glitter and tinsel. "And you brought Crumpet." She comes around the counter to greet my dog, who immediately perks up at the attention. "What a handsome boy you are." Crumpet's tail starts wagging, and I swear he's showing off as Sadie scratches behind his ears. "He's shameless," I say, watching my usually dignified dog practically melt under her attention. "Aren't you, buddy?" She gives him one final pat before straightening up. "I'm making you a peppermint mocha. Consider it the first step in your holiday education." "I didn't order." "Part of the coaching package," she interrupts cheerfully. "Trust me, you'll love it." Crumpet settles at my feet, perfectly content to watch Sadie work. She moves around the small space with practiced efficiency, steaming milk and adding what looks like enough whipped cream to violate several health codes. The result is a towering creation topped with chocolate shavings and a candy cane. "Here." She slides the mug across the counter. "Drink that and tell me Christmas doesn't have its perks." I take a cautious sip and immediately understand why people order these things. It's rich and sweet without being cloying, with just enough peppermint to make it interesting. "Okay," I admit. "That's actually good. See? Progress already." Sadie's smile is triumphant. "Now, for the next part of today's lesson." She disappears into the back room and returns carrying a red Santa hat with white trim. My stomach drops. No, I say immediately. Yes. She holds it out with the kind of determination usually reserved for hostage negotiations. It's part of the experience. Sadie, I am not wearing a Santa hat. Why not? It's just a hat. It's a symbol of everything ridiculous about this season. The forced cheer, the performative joy, the expectation that slapping on a costume somehow makes everything magical. She tilts her head, studying me with those warm brown eyes. Or, she says gently, it's just a fun hat that makes people smile. Sometimes magic is simpler than we think. There's something in her voice, not pushy or manipulative, just genuinely hopeful, that makes me pause. She's not trying to prove a point or win an argument. She actually believes that wearing a ridiculous hat might bring a little joy into the world. If I put that thing on, I say slowly, and someone takes a picture, I'm holding you personally responsible. Deal. She steps around the counter, hat in hand. May I? I nod reluctantly, and she reaches up to settle the hat on my head. She's close enough that I can smell her shampoo, something floral and clean, and see the flecks of gold in her eyes. Her fingers brush against my forehead as she adjusts the hat, and I have to resist the urge to lean into the touch. There. She steps back, appraising her work. You look ridiculous, I supply. Approachable, she corrects. Like someone who might actually enjoy Christmas if he gave it a chance. I catch my reflection in the bakery window and immediately regret it. The hat is as absurd as I expected, all red velvet and jaunty white trim. But there's something different about my expression underneath it. Less severe, maybe. More human. How does it feel? Sadie asks. Like wearing a traffic cone, I say honestly. But softer. She laughs, the sound bright and infectious. That's the spirit. Sort of. Crumpet chooses that moment to stand and nose at my hand, apparently unbothered by my new headgear. At least someone isn't judging me. So what's next in this coaching program? I ask, taking another sip of the peppermint mocha. Caroling? Ugly sweater shopping? Actually, I was thinking we'd start with something low-key. The kids' gingerbread contest is tomorrow afternoon. I'm one of the judges, but I could use another perspective. Someone practical. You want me to judge children's baking? I want you to see Christmas through their eyes, she says simply. Kids don't overthink the magic. They just enjoy it. I consider this, absently scratching behind Crumpet's ears. Children are honest, at least. They don't pretend to enjoy things they hate, and they don't get caught up in the commercial nonsense that makes adults miserable. Maybe watching a bunch of 6-year-olds decorate cookies wouldn't be the worst way to spend an afternoon. Fine, I say. But I'm not wearing the hat to a children's event. We'll negotiate that later. Sadie's grin suggests she's already planning to win that particular battle. For now, enjoy your coffee and the fact that you've made it through day one of the bet without a single complaint. I open my mouth to point out that I've had several complaints, just haven't voiced them, then close it again. She's right. Despite the tinsel at the vet clinic and the ridiculous hat currently perched on my head, I haven't actually complained about anything holiday-related today. I say. What? Nothing. Just, this might actually work. Sadie's smile could power the entire town's Christmas light display. Of course it will. We're just getting started. As I finish my peppermint mocha and listen to her explain the rules of gingerbread judging, I find myself thinking that there's a chance this won't be the disaster I expected. The hat is still ridiculous, and the town is still decorated like a Christmas explosion, but sitting here in Sadie's warm bakery, watching her eyes light up as she talks about tomorrow's contest, I can almost see the appeal. Almost.
Chapter 3. Sadie. The community center buzzes with barely contained chaos as 23 children between the ages of 5 and 10 prepare to unleash their creativity on innocent gingerbread cookies. I survey the scene from behind the judge's station. All around me are tables covered in plastic tablecloths, bowls of colorful frosting, and enough sprinkles to decorate a small parade float. Are you sure about this? Wes asks, eyeing the controlled mayhem with obvious skepticism. He showed up 5 minutes ago without the Santa hat, but he's here, which counts as progress in my book. Positive, I say, arranging my clipboard and pen. Kids' contests are the best. They're not trying to impress anyone. They're just having fun. Mrs. Carter, who's been organizing the children's holiday activities for longer than I've been alive, claps her hands for attention. All right, everyone. You have 30 minutes to decorate your gingerbread people. Remember, we're looking for creativity, not perfection. The starting bell rings, and chaos erupts. Tiny hands dive for frosting tubes and sprinkles, voices rise in excitement, and I catch at least 3 different children trying to eat their decorating supplies instead of using them. This is going to be a disaster, Wes mutters under his breath. This is going to be adorable, I correct. At the table closest to us, a 6-year-old named Emma is carefully applying what appears to be an entire container of silver sprinkles to her cookies dress. Next to her, twins Jake and Josh are engaged in what looks like a frosting war, their gingerbread people forgotten in favor of decorating each other. Wes watches the twins with fascination, like he's observing some exotic species. Do they always? He gestures vaguely at the frosting mayhem. Pretty much, I say. The goal isn't perfect cookies. It's letting them be creative and have fun. A small girl with pigtails approaches our table, holding up her creation proudly. Look. I made a ballerina. Her gingerbread person sports a pink tutu made entirely of frosting rosettes and a face that consists of 2 chocolate chip eyes and a smile drawn in red icing. That's beautiful, Sophie, I tell her. I love how you made the tutus so detailed. She really went all out with those rosettes, Wes says quietly, surprising me. That's some serious dedication to sparkle. I stare at him. Did you just compliment a 6-year-old's decorating skills? I made an observation about commitment, he corrects, but there's the hint of a smile tugging at his mouth. When 8-year-old Marcus comes over to show off his superhero cookie, complete with a cape made from fruit leather, Wes leans in for a closer look. Is that Superman? He asks seriously. Super Cookie Man, Marcus corrects with the kind of patience adults reserve for people who clearly don't understand comic book protocol. He fights the vegetable villains and saves kids from having to eat Brussels sprouts. That's an important job, Wes says with equal seriousness. What's his superpower? He shoots chocolate chips from his eyes and makes everything taste like cookies. That would be useful, Wes says seriously. The timer rings, signaling the end of the decorating period. We move through the room, stopping at each table to examine the cookies. I'm impressed by how seriously Wes takes each explanation, asking questions and nodding thoughtfully at even the most outlandish, creative decisions. At the twins' table, their frosting war has resulted in 2 cookies that look like they've been through a natural disaster. We made storm cookies, Jake explains. They got caught in a blizzard. A frosting blizzard, Josh adds helpfully. I can see that, Wes says, studying the chaotic swirls of white and blue icing. That's very realistic storm damage. The boys beam at having their artistic vision understood and validated. By the time we've seen all the entries, I've filled out my scoring sheet and Wes has quietly observed each creation, occasionally nodding or asking the kids genuine questions about their choices. So? I ask, reviewing my notes. What did you think? They're all terrible, Wes says, and my heart sinks until I see the expression on his face. Terrible at following traditional decorating rules, I mean. Which makes them perfect. Perfect? They didn't worry about making mistakes or following templates. They just created stuff. He shrugs, like this revelation surprises him as much as it does me. We spend a few minutes creating categories that ensure every child gets recognized for something special about their creation. When Mrs. Carter calls for the results, I announce the winners while Wes hangs back, but I catch him smiling as each child's name is called. As we clean up the inevitable sprinkle explosion afterward, Wes helps me stack chairs. So? I ask as we work. How was your first official Christmas coaching session? Messy, he says, dumping a handful of silver sprinkles into the trash. Loud. Completely chaotic. My heart sinks a little. But also kind of amazing. He straightens up, meeting my eyes. Those kids didn't care about winning or being perfect. They just wanted to make something fun. That's the point of Christmas, I say softly. Joy for the sake of joy. Wes is quiet for a moment, processing this. Then he nods slowly. Maybe you're right. Maybe? Definitely, he corrects with a small smile that makes my chest feel warm. You're definitely right. About this, anyway. I'm still buzzing with excitement from the contest when we get back to the bakery. Wes helped me carry the leftover supplies, and Crumpet trots beside us like he's part of the team now. I need to get a batch of sugar cookies in the oven, I tell Wes as I unlock the front door. A regular Joe just called and doubled their usual order. I should probably head out, he says, but he follows me inside anyway. Absolutely not, I say, pulling the pre-made cookie dough from the fridge. You survived your first kids contest without complaining once. That deserves hot chocolate. Sit. I point to one of the chairs by the front window, and after a moment's hesitation, he settles into it. Crumpet immediately curls up at his feet. And I have something special for Crumpet too, I add, reaching into a container behind the counter. Peanut butter dog treats. I made them yesterday. Wes's eyebrows rise. You make dog treats? Just for my favorite customers, I say, offering one to Crumpet, who accepts it with the dignity of a dog who knows he deserves good things. You don't have to. I want to, I interrupt, already starting the hot chocolate. Besides, you were amazing with those kids. Jake's face when you called his cookie realistic weather patterns? Pure joy. I start rolling out the dough, grinning at the memory. Complete chaos, but somehow it worked. I preheat the oven and am reaching for my cookie cutters when the oven makes a sound like a dying whale. We both freeze as the digital display flickers wildly between temperatures before going completely dark. No. I abandon the dough and rush to the oven, pressing buttons frantically. Come on, work with me here. The display flickers once more, shows 350 degrees for exactly 2 seconds, then dies again. This cannot be happening, I mutter, opening the oven door and immediately closing it when cold air hits my face. I have orders due tomorrow. And I need fresh cookies for the display cases. When did it start acting up? Wes asks, moving to examine the control panel. About a week ago. It's been temperamental, but I thought. I trail off, watching him crouch down to look at the connections. You don't have to. Do you have a screwdriver? I point to the junk drawer, and he retrieves a Phillips head screwdriver that's seen better days. Within minutes, he has the control panel off and is examining the wiring with the kind of focus I usually reserve for perfecting frosting consistency. Here's your problem, he says, pointing to a wire that's barely hanging on. This connection is loose. Has been for a while, from the look of it. Can you fix it? Temporarily. He twists the wires together and secures them with electrical tape from my emergency repair kit. This should hold for a few days, but you're going to need a real repair or a different oven soon. He replaces the panel and stands back as I restart the oven. The display comes to life, showing a steady 350 degrees. You're a miracle worker, I breathe, relief flooding through me. It's a band-aid fix, he warns. Don't leave it unattended, and if it starts acting up again, turn it off immediately. I nod, already sliding my cookie sheets into the oven. Thank you. Seriously. You just saved my entire week. It's what I do, he says with a shrug, but there's something different in his expression. Softer, maybe. Like fixing my oven was exactly where he wanted to be. I watch him pack up the screwdriver, noting the careful way he handles my equipment, how he double-checks that everything is secure before putting it away. This is Wes in his element. Solving problems, making things work, taking care of what needs taking care of. You're good at this, I say quietly. At what? Helping. Fixing things. Being exactly who people need you to be. He looks uncomfortable with the praise. It's just a loose wire. It's not just a loose wire. I step closer, wanting him to understand. You showed up to judge cookies you had no interest in judging. You listened to 23 kids explain their artistic vision without once rolling your eyes. And now you're fixing my oven when you could have walked away. Anyone would have. No, I interrupt. They wouldn't. Most people would have offered sympathy and suggested I call a repair service. You saw a problem and fixed it. Wes is quiet for a moment, and I can practically see him processing this. Like he's never considered that his instinct to help might be something worth appreciating. The cookies smell good, he says finally, changing the subject. I smile, recognizing the deflection for what it is. They'll be ready in 12 minutes. Want to stay and make sure the oven doesn't explode? Someone should keep an eye on it, he agrees, settling into one of the chairs I keep by the front window. As we wait for the timer, I find myself stealing glances at him. He's not handsome in a conventional way. Too rough around the edges, too practical for that. But there's something solid and dependable about him that makes me feel safe in a way I haven't felt in a long time. Maybe Christmas coaching was exactly what we both needed.
Chapter 4. Wes. Crumpet and I are on our usual afternoon walk when he stops abruptly outside the Sweet Life, nose pressed against the front window. Come on, boy, I say, tugging gently on his leash. We've got 3 more blocks to go. But Crumpet plants himself firmly on the sidewalk, tail wagging as he stares through the glass. Inside, I can see Sadie moving around behind the counter, her hair tied back with what looks like a red bandana covered in snowflakes. She's working, I tell him. We shouldn't bother her. Crumpet gives me a look that clearly questions my intelligence, then sits down with the patience of a dog who knows he's going to win this argument. Fine, I mutter. But we're just checking on the oven. The bells jingle as we push through the door, and Sadie looks up with a smile that makes something warm unfurl in my chest. Wes. Perfect timing. She wipes her hands on her flour-dusted apron. I was thinking about you. You were? The oven's been holding steady all morning. Your fix is working like a charm. She comes around the counter to greet Crumpet, who immediately starts showing off with his best sitting posture. And hello to you too, handsome. Want another treat? She produces a peanut butter dog biscuit from somewhere, and Crumpet accepts it with the dignity of royalty receiving tribute. Any warning signs? I ask, nodding toward the back where I can see trays of cookies cooling on racks. Flickering display, temperature fluctuations? Nothing so far. But I'm not taking any chances. I've been checking it every 15 minutes. She straightens up, brushing dog hair off her hands. Want some coffee? I just made a fresh pot. I start to decline, then catch sight of the kitchen behind her. There are dozens of cookies in various stages of completion, bowls of colored frosting, and what appears to be an assembly line of decorating supplies spread across every available surface. What's all this? Special holiday orders, she says, following my gaze. The Chestnut Creek Ladies Guild wants 3 dozen decorated snowflakes for their winter tea tomorrow. Plus Mrs. Peterson ordered 2 dozen Christmas trees for her book club meeting. That's a lot of decorating. Tell me about it. I've been at it since 6 this morning, and I'm maybe halfway done. She sighs, tucking a stray piece of hair behind her ear. But it's good business. With the oven acting up, every order counts. I study the setup she's got going. Cookies laid out in neat rows, frosting bags filled and ready, sprinkles organized by color. It's efficient, but it's also a one-person operation that's clearly overwhelming her. Need help? The offer comes out before I can stop it. Sadie blinks at me. Help? With decorating? I can follow directions, I say. How hard can it be? You want to help me decorate Christmas cookies? You said it yourself. Every order counts. And that oven's only going to hold up for so long. Might as well get as much done as possible while it's working. She stares at me for a long moment, like she's trying to figure out if I'm serious. Then her face breaks into a grin that could power the entire town's holiday light display. Okay, she says. But I'm warning you. I'm very particular about frosting technique. I can handle particular. 20 minutes later, I'm standing at Sadie's work counter with a piping bag full of blue frosting, trying to create what she calls delicate snowflake patterns on sugar cookies that are roughly the size of my palm. Steady pressure, Sadie coaches from beside me, demonstrating on her own cookie. Think of it like caulking a window frame, but more artistic. I watch her create an intricate pattern of swirls and dots that somehow manages to look both delicate and symmetrical. Then I look down at my own attempt, which resembles something a toddler might produce during a tantrum. This is harder than it looks, I admit. You're thinking too much, she says, moving to stand behind me. Here, let me show you. She reaches around to guide my hands, her arms bracketing mine as she adjusts my grip on the piping bag. She smells like vanilla and cinnamon, and I have to concentrate hard on not thinking about how close she is. Feel the rhythm, she says softly, her breath warm against my ear. Don't fight the frosting. Work with it. Under her guidance, my second attempt actually resembles a snowflake. Sort of. Better, she says, stepping back. You're getting the hang of it. We work in comfortable silence for a while. The only sounds are the soft Christmas music playing overhead and Crumpet's occasional snores from his spot by the front window. I find myself settling into the rhythm of it. Pipe the outline, fill it in, add details. It's methodical, almost meditative. So what made you decide to open a bakery? I ask as I start on my fifth snowflake. Long story, she says, piping perfect little dots around the edge of a Christmas tree cookie. Short version? I needed a fresh start, and Chestnut Creek needed a bakery. What kind of fresh start? She's quiet for a moment, focusing intently on her decorating. I used to work in marketing in Chicago. High-pressure job, demanding boss, the whole corporate nightmare. I was engaged to someone who turned out to be. She pauses, searching for the right words. Let's just say he wasn't who I thought he was. I'm sorry. Don't be. Best thing that ever happened to me. She looks up with a smile that doesn't quite reach her eyes. Sometimes you have to lose everything to figure out what you actually want. I understand that feeling better than she probably realizes. And what you wanted was to bake cookies in a small mountain town? What I wanted was to wake up every morning excited about the day ahead. To build something that mattered. To belong somewhere. She dips her brush in green frosting, adding tiny leaves to her Christmas tree. Turns out baking was just the vehicle. Do you miss it? Chicago? Sometimes. The museums, the restaurants, the energy of it all. She shrugs. But I don't miss the person I was there. Always stressed, always trying to prove myself, never quite good enough. I glance over at her, noting the way her shoulders have relaxed as she works, the contentment in her expression as she adds finishing touches to her cookies. You seem pretty good enough to me. She looks up, meeting my eyes, and for a moment something passes between us. Understanding, maybe, or recognition. Like we're both people who've had to figure out who we are when everything familiar gets stripped away. Thanks, she says softly. That means a lot. We return to our decorating, but the atmosphere has shifted somehow. Less casual, more intimate. Like we've shared something important without quite meaning to. Not bad for a beginner, she says, surveying my work with approval. You might have a hidden talent for cookie decoration. I doubt that, I say, but I'm pleased by the compliment anyway. The wind rattles the bakery windows, and I look up from the last Christmas tree cookie to see fat snowflakes swirling past the glass. What started as light flurries 20 minutes ago has turned into something more serious. Wow, Sadie says, moving to the front window. That came out of nowhere. I join her, Crumpet padding over to investigate the commotion. Outside, the snow is falling so thick I can barely make out the street lamps across the way. The wind howls between the buildings, turning what should be a peaceful snowfall into something that looks downright hostile. This doesn't look like it's stopping anytime soon, I say, pulling out my phone to check the weather. Forecast is calling for 6 to 8 inches. 6 to 8? Sadie's eyes widen. I was planning to deliver these cookies tonight. Not in this, you're not. I gesture toward the window, where the snow is now coming down sideways. Nobody should be driving in this. She sighs, then brightens. Well, I guess that means we have time for a proper snack. I've got some leftover soup from lunch, and I could make grilled cheese to go with it. You don't have to. I want to, she says, already heading toward the kitchen. Besides, you just spent 2 hours helping me decorate cookies. The least I can do is feed you. I settle into one of the chairs by the window, watching her work. She moves with the same efficiency she brings to everything else, ladling soup into a pot to reheat, buttering bread for sandwiches. The whole bakery fills with the comforting scent of tomato soup and toasting bread. My mom used to make grilled cheese and tomato soup when it snowed, I find myself saying. Said it was the perfect storm food. Smart woman, Sadie says, flipping the sandwiches in the pan. Was she a good cook? She tried to be. We didn't have much money, so she got creative with whatever was in the pantry. I watched the snow continue to fall, remembering those long winters when Mom worked 2 jobs just to keep the heat on. Christmas was always complicated for her. How so? I hesitate, not sure why I'm sharing this. Maybe it's the storm making everything feel suspended from normal life, or maybe it's the way Sadie listens. Like she actually wants to know, not just making conversation. She worked retail, I say finally. Department store, holiday season. Which meant she worked longer hours in December when everyone else was celebrating. By the time Christmas actually rolled around, she was exhausted. Sadie places a bowl of soup and a perfectly golden grilled cheese sandwich in front of me. That must have been hard. For both of you. She did her best. But Christmas always felt like this thing that happened to other people. Other families. I accept the mug she offers, wrapping my hands around its warmth. Abby was too young to really understand why Mom was always stressed during the holidays. But I remember. Is that why you're not a fan of the season? I take a bite of the grilled cheese, which is perfectly golden and crispy, the cheese melted just right. Partly. Hard to get excited about something that caused your mom so much anxiety. Sadie settles into the chair across from me, cradling her bowl. What about after? When you were older? After Mom died, Christmas became about survival. Making sure Abby had presents under the tree, keeping traditions alive for her sake. But it never felt joyful. Just necessary. The wind gusts again, making the windows creak. Outside, the street is completely empty, the world muffled in white. I'm sorry, Sadie says softly. That's a lot of weight to carry. What about you? I ask, wanting to shift the focus away from my own baggage. Were you the kid who couldn't sleep on Christmas Eve? A shadow crosses her face. Sometimes. But my parents had this way of making everything perfect. Too perfect, maybe. How do you mean? She's quiet for a moment, staring into her cocoa like it might hold answers. My dad was in sales, and image was everything to him. Our house had to look like a magazine spread during the holidays. The tree perfectly decorated, the presents arranged just so. Everything had to be flawless. Sounds nice, I say, though something in her tone suggests it wasn't. It was beautiful, she agrees. But also exhausting. I remember being terrified of messing anything up, of ruining the perfect Christmas tableau my parents had created. She looks up, meeting my eyes. Maybe that's why I like the chaos of kids' contests. All that beautiful, imperfect creativity. I think about the gingerbread judging yesterday, how relaxed she'd seemed surrounded by frosting-covered children and their gloriously messy cookies. Is that why you ended up in Chicago? Trying to live up to that perfection? Probably. She takes another sip of cocoa. I spent so many years trying to be the perfect daughter, then the perfect employee, then the perfect fiancée. It took me way too long to realize that perfect isn't actually sustainable. What made you realize it? Her laugh is short and bitter. Finding out my perfect fiancé was more interested in his career than our relationship. He broke off our engagement 2 weeks before the wedding because marrying me wouldn't help him advance his networking opportunities the way dating his boss's daughter would. Something hot and protective flares in my chest. He was an idiot. It was the wake-up call I needed. She shrugs, but I can see the hurt lingering in her eyes. I quit my job, broke the lease on my apartment, and drove south until I found a town that felt like home. And you found Chestnut Creek. I found the sweet life, she corrects. The previous owner was retiring, and the space was perfect. Small enough to manage, big enough to grow into. And the town? She gestures toward the window, where the snow continues to fall. Everyone here lets you be exactly who you are. Even if who you are is a grumpy guy who complains about Christmas decorations? Especially then. Her smile is warm and real. Though I'm starting to think the grumpy thing might be an act. What makes you say that? You spent 2 hours decorating cookies with me. You fixed my oven without being asked. You judged a kids' contest and made them all feel like artists. She leans forward slightly. That doesn't sound like someone who doesn't care about Christmas magic. Maybe I just care about. I stop, realizing what I was about to say. About what? I look at her sitting there in the soft light from the bakery's lamps, snow swirling outside the windows, and feel something shift inside my chest. Something dangerous and wonderful and terrifying. About you, I say quietly. The words hang in the air between us. Sadie goes very still, her eyes searching my face like she's trying to decide if I mean it. Wes, she says softly. I set down my mug and lean forward, my heart hammering against my ribs. I know this is probably a bad idea. I know I'm not the kind of guy who. What kind of guy do you think I need? She interrupts, her voice barely above a whisper. Someone who deserves your sunshine. Someone who can match your energy, your optimism. I swallow hard. Someone who doesn't need coaching to find Christmas magic. What if I told you I don't want someone perfect? She reaches out, her fingers brushing against mine on the small table between us. What if I told you I want someone real? The contact sends electricity up my arm. Her hand is warm and soft, and when she doesn't pull away, I turn my palm up to capture her fingers with mine. Sadie, I say, her name rough in my throat. She stands slowly, our hands still connected, and moves around the table. I rise to meet her, and suddenly we're standing close enough that I can see the flecks of gold in her brown eyes, can smell the vanilla scent that seems to cling to her hair. This is probably a mistake, I murmur, but I'm already reaching up to cup her face with my free hand. Probably, she agrees, but she's leaning into my touch, her eyes fluttering closed. I'm about to kiss her, want to kiss her more than I want my next breath, when Crumpet lets out a massive sneeze from his spot by the window. We spring apart like we've been caught doing something illegal, both of us breathing hard. I start, then look toward the window. The snow is coming down even harder now, and I can't even see the streetlights anymore. Actually, I don't think anyone's going anywhere tonight.
Chapter 5. Sadie. I wake up to the soft sound of Wes moving around the kitchen, trying to be quiet. Pale winter sunlight filters through the bakery windows, and the world outside looks like a pristine snow globe. We ended up sharing the small office space. Me in my emergency sleeping bag, him wrapped in the spare tablecloths I keep for catering events, and Crumpet curled up between us like a furry chaperone. It was awkward and sweet and surprisingly comfortable, all at the same time. Morning, I say softly, sitting up and running my hands through what I'm sure is spectacularly messy hair. Sorry, didn't mean to wake you. He turns from where he's been examining my ancient coffee maker, looking rumpled and somehow even more attractive than usual. I was trying to figure out how to make coffee without destroying your equipment. It's temperamental, I admit, stretching out the kinks in my back. Crumpet opens one eye to watch me, his tail giving a lazy thump against the floor before he settles back into his nap. Like most things around here. Let me. I start to get up, but Wes waves me off. Stay put. I think I've got it figured out. He does, apparently, because within minutes the rich scent of brewing coffee fills the air. Crumpet stretches and yawns from his makeshift bed by the front window, tail thumping lazily against the floor. You're a miracle worker, I tell Wes as he hands me a steaming mug. Though I should warn you, that coffee maker is probably older than I am. It just needs some patience, he says, settling into the chair across from my makeshift bed. Crumpet finally decides to get up, stretching elaborately before padding over to me for morning pets. How do you sleep? Better than expected, considering I was sleeping on a hardwood floor with a dog taking up half the space. I scratch behind Crumpet's ears, and he leans into the attention with a contented sigh. You? I've slept in worse places. He shrugs, but there's something comfortable about the way he says it, like spending the night in my bakery wasn't a hardship. The roads look passable now, if you want to get home and change clothes. I glance toward the window, where I can see tire tracks in the snow on Main Street. Part of me wants to take him up on the offer. To go home, shower, put on clean clothes, and pretend that almost kiss last night was just a moment of storm-induced madness. But another part of me isn't ready for this bubble to burst yet. Actually, I say, I should probably stick around and get some baking done. I've got those cookie deliveries to make, plus I need to prep for the weekend rush. The oven holding up okay? I nod toward the kitchen. So far, so good. Though I keep waiting for it to give up completely. I pause, then decide to be honest. Which would pretty much be the end of the sweet life. Wes sets down his coffee mug. What do you mean? A new commercial oven costs more money than I have right now. I wrap my hands around my mug, using it as an anchor. The bakery's doing okay, but not to drop $5,000 on new equipment, okay. Especially not right before the slow season. 5,000? For a decent one. Yeah. More if I want something that'll last. I try to keep my voice light, but I can hear the worry creeping in anyway. That's why winning the decorating contest matters so much. The publicity could help carry me through the winter months. Wes is quiet for a moment, processing this. What happens if the oven dies before you can replace it? I close. The words taste bitter in my mouth. Temporarily, I hope. But small businesses don't usually survive long closures, especially in a town this size. Sadie. It's fine, I say quickly, not wanting his pity. I'll figure something out. I always do. Maybe I could rent kitchen space somewhere, or... What about online sales to boost income? He interrupts. Shipping cookies, taking custom orders from people who aren't local? I blink at him. Online sales? You make the best cookies I've ever tasted, he says matter-of-factly. And I'm guessing I'm not the only person who would think that. But people can't order from you if they don't know you exist. I have a website, I say weakly. Sort of. When's the last time you updated it? I think about the basic site I threw together when I first opened, with its blurry photos and outdated menu. Define updated. Wes stands up, moving to look out the front window at the snow-covered street. You need better photos. Professional ones that actually show how good your stuff looks. And social media presence. Instagram, Facebook, maybe TikTok if you're feeling ambitious. I don't know anything about social media marketing, I admit. I can barely keep up with the day-to-day stuff. I could help. He turns back to me, and there's something determined in his expression. I'm not a professional photographer or anything, but I've got a decent camera on my phone. I could take some pictures of your baked goods, your setup here. Get you some content to work with. Wes, you don't have to. I want to, he says firmly. You helped me figure out that Christmas doesn't have to be miserable. Let me help you figure out how to save your bakery. I stare at him, this gruff, practical man who fixes ovens and decorates cookies and apparently wants to become my personal photographer. You'd really do that? I'd really do that. He sits back down, leaning forward with his elbows on his knees. Besides, I'm curious to see if I can make your gingerbread village look as good in photos as it does in real life. It's not that impressive. Sadie. His voice is gentle but firm. Stop underselling yourself. You've built something beautiful here. You just need to let people see it. I look around the bakery, at the mismatched furniture I've collected over the years, the hand-painted signs, the pieces I baked for my gingerbread village display. It's not perfect, but it's mine. And maybe, with the right photos and a little help, other people might see what Wes sees. Okay, I say finally. But I get to approve all the pictures before they go anywhere. Deal. His smile is warm and sure. When do we start? How about now? I gesture toward the kitchen, where yesterday's gingerbread pieces are waiting for assembly. If we're going to do this, we might as well get going. Let me take Crumpet out first, Wes says, glancing at his dog, who's now sitting by the front door with the patient expression of someone who's been waiting politely for a bathroom break. And I need to grab my phone charger from the truck. The battery died sometime during the night. I'll start setting up some displays while you're out there. As Wes bundles up and heads outside with Crumpet, I can't shake the feeling that something significant is shifting. Not just with the bakery, but between us. Last night's almost kiss hangs in the air like a promise, and now he's offering to help save my business. I just hope I'm brave enough to let him. Wes returns with Crumpet and a phone charger, stomping snow off his boots. Roads are still pretty rough out there, he says. My boss just texted and told everyone on the crew to stay home today. Can't do our job until the plow crews get the main roads cleared. So you're officially free? I ask, trying not to sound as pleased as I feel. Officially free. He plugs his charger into the outlet behind the counter. Which means I can take my time getting the perfect shots of your masterpieces. We spend the next hour transforming the bakery into an impromptu photo studio. I arrange cookies on vintage plates I keep for special occasions, dust the counter with just a hint of flour for atmosphere, and position yesterday's gingerbread village to catch the natural light from the front windows. Try holding that plate a little higher, Wes says, crouch down to get the right angle with his phone. Perfect. The light is hitting the frosting just right. I watch him work, noting the intense concentration on his face as he adjusts angles and experiments with different shots. He takes this as seriously as he took decorating cookies yesterday, giving each photo the same careful attention he probably brings to fixing broken equipment around town. How did you get so good at this? I ask as he shows me a shot of my cinnamon rolls that makes them look like they belong in a magazine. YouTube, mostly. I started taking pictures of repair work to show people around town what I was doing. He swipes to another photo. Turns out the same principles apply. Good lighting, clean composition, showing the details that matter. These are incredible, I breathe, scrolling through the dozen shots he's taken so far. Each one captures something different about my baked goods. The flaky layers of a croissant, the perfect swirl of frosting on a cupcake, the way light catches the sugar crystals on a snickerdoodle. Wait until you see them edited, he says. I've got an app that can adjust the colors, brighten the shadows. We work our way through the bakery methodically. First the display case, then the kitchen workspace. We even take shots of the cozy seating area by the front window. Wes has an eye for details I never would have noticed, capturing the flour-dusted rolling pin on my counter, the warm glow of the pendant lights over the kitchen island, the way Crumpet looks perfectly at home curled up in a patch of sunlight. Now some of you actually baking, he says, positioning himself near the counter where I'm rolling out dough for sugar cookies. Don't pose. Just do what you normally do. This feels weird, I admit, trying to ignore the camera pointed at me. Pretend I'm not here. That's impossible. The words slip out before I can stop them, and heat floods my cheeks. Wes lowers his phone, meeting my eyes. Why? Because you take up space in a way that makes everything else feel smaller. Because I keep finding excuses to brush past you. Because having you here feels like the most natural thing in the world, and that terrifies me. Because you're helping, I say instead. It means a lot. He studies my face for a moment, like he's trying to read between the lines. Good, he says finally. Now stop thinking about the camera and show me how you make magic happen. So I do. I roll out dough and cut shapes, arrange them on baking sheets, slide them into the temperamental oven that's been behaving itself all morning. Wes moves around me like a dance partner, capturing shots from different angles, sometimes so close I can feel the warmth radiating from his body. There, he says, showing me a picture of me shaping cookie dough, flour dusting my fingers. That's the one that's going to sell 1,000 cookies. I look at the photo and barely recognize myself. The woman in the picture looks confident, skilled, completely in her element. I look like I actually know what I'm doing. You do know what you're doing. Wes sets his phone aside and steps closer. You've always known. You just needed someone to show you what the rest of us see. We're standing close now, close enough that I can see the flecks of green in his hazel eyes, can smell the coffee on his breath. My heart does that fluttery thing it's been doing around him lately. Sadie, he says softly.
Yeah.
I should probably, he glances toward the window, where more people are starting to venture out into the snowy streets. It's getting busier out there. You'll have customers soon. Right. I take a step back, instantly missing his warmth. Of course. But I can stay a little longer if you want. Help you pick the best shots, maybe start working on that social media stuff. You'd do that? I'd do that. His smile is soft and sure. Besides, someone needs to teach you how Instagram works. I'm not completely hopeless with technology, I protest. Says the woman who just admitted her website hasn't been updated since she opened. Touché. We settle at one of the small tables with his phone and my laptop, heads bent together as he walks me through the basics of social media marketing. He's patient and funny, making jokes about hashtags and explaining why certain photos work better than others. Every so often his shoulder brushes mine, or his hand covers mine to show me where to click, and I have to remind myself to pay attention to what he's saying instead of the way his touch makes me feel. This one, he says, pointing to a photo of my gingerbread village nestled among twinkling lights. This is your hero shot. It tells a story. What story? Home. Warmth. The kind of place where magic still happens. He looks up, catching my gaze. The kind of place worth fighting for. Something passes between us in that moment, understanding, maybe, or possibility. Like we're talking about more than just marketing strategy. I should let you get ready for the day, he says, but he doesn't move to leave. Probably, I agree, but I don't want him to go. The spell is broken by the sound of someone trying the front door, rattling the handle. I glance at the clock. It's nearly 10, and I haven't even flipped the sign to open yet. Duty calls, I say with a rueful smile.
Yeah.
Wes stands, gathering his charger. I'll send you all the photos later today. Once you pick your favorites, we can get them uploaded. Thank you, I say, meaning it more than he probably realizes. For everything. Thank you for letting me help. He pauses at the door, crumpet at his side. This was fun. Yes, I agree, watching him bundle up against the cold. It was. After they leave, I make my deliveries and open the door for my first customer of the day. But as I serve coffee and pastries to snow-weary customers, my mind keeps drifting back to the morning we spent together. The easy way we worked as a team, the comfortable silences, the moments when our hands brushed and neither of us pulled away. I'm in trouble. Real, honest-to-goodness trouble. Because somewhere between the cookie decorating and spending the night in my bakery, I've started falling for Wes Parker.
Chapter 6. Wes. The town square looks like a Christmas card come to life, all pristine white snow and twinkling lights that stayed on through the storm. I've been walking around for the better part of an hour, taking photos with my phone. Crumpet pads alongside me, perfectly content to explore the transformed landscape while I work. The snow crunches under our feet as we make our way around the fountain, which has turned into an ice sculpture overnight. Even I have to admit it's pretty spectacular. I take a wide shot of the whole square, then zoom in on details. The way snow has settled on the branches of the big oak tree, the icicles hanging from the gazebo roof, the warm glow spilling from a regular Joe's windows onto the white sidewalk. Each shot tells part of the story of Chestnut Creek in winter. When I turn back toward Main Street, the sweet life catches my eye. Sadie's red and green lights look even more inviting against the white backdrop, and her gingerbread village in the window seems to glow from within. I take several shots from different angles, then cross the street to get some from further back. That's when I see it. The perfect shot. The whole bakery framed by snow-heavy trees, warm light spilling from every window, and Sadie herself visible through the glass, serving a customer with that genuine smile she gives everyone. It's everything I was trying to capture yesterday in the studio shots, but better. More real. Come on, boy, I tell Crumpet after I take the shot. Let's go show her what we've got. The bells jingle as we enter, and Sadie looks up from the register with a smile that makes something warm unfurl in my chest. Back already? She asks, handing change to Mrs. Peterson. How were the roads? Getting better. And the photo opportunities were too good to pass up. I wait until Mrs. Peterson leaves with her box of cookies before pulling out my phone. Want to see what Chestnut Creek looks like in a snow globe? Absolutely. She comes around the counter, and I'm immediately aware of how close she's standing as I swipe through the photos. She smells like cinnamon and vanilla, and when she leans in to get a better look at the screen, her shoulder brushes against my arm. These are incredible. Her voice is full of amazement. I start with the wide shots of the town square, watching her face as she takes in each image. Her eyes get wider with every swipe. Look at the fountain, she breathes. It looks like something out of a fairy tale. Wait until you see the one of the gazebo. I swipe to the next photo, which shows the white Victorian structure looking like it's made of spun sugar and starlight. You have such a good eye, she says, and I can hear the genuine admiration in her voice. I walk past these same things every day and never really see them like this. Sometimes you need distance to appreciate what you have, I say, then immediately wonder if I'm talking about more than just photography. I keep swiping, showing her shots of the oak tree, the storefronts along Main Street, the way the snow transformed even ordinary things like park benches and mailboxes into something magical. She comments on each one, pointing out details I captured that she might never have noticed otherwise. And these, I say, swiping to the shots of the sweet life. These might be my favorites. Her breath catches as the first image fills the screen. It's the wide shot of the bakery from across the street, looking like the heart of a perfect small-town Christmas. That's my bakery, she says softly, like she can't quite believe it. That's your bakery, I confirm. There's more. I show her the close-ups of the window display, the way the lights reflected off the snow, the warm glow that made the whole building look welcoming and magical. Then I get to the last few shots. The ones where she's visible through the window, working. You took pictures of me? There's surprise in her voice, but not anger. You were part of the scene, I explain. The bakery wouldn't look the same without you in it. She stares at the photo for a long moment. It's a good shot. She's laughing at something, probably a comment from Mrs. Peterson, and the joy on her face is genuine and infectious. I look happy, she says finally. You are happy. When you're here, doing what you love. I pocket my phone, studying her expression. You should see yourself the way your customers see you. How's that? Like someone who makes their day a little brighter just by being here. She's quiet for a moment, processing this. You really think these photos could help the bakery? I think these photos could help people understand what they'd be missing if the sweet life wasn't here anymore. I lean against the counter, watching her face. But more than that, I think they show you something you might have forgotten. What's that? That you've built something worth saving. I gesture around the bakery at the mismatched furniture she's collected, the hand-painted signs, the display case full of treats she made from scratch this morning. This place isn't just a business, Sadie. It's part of what makes Chestnut Creek special. Tears well up in her eyes, but she's smiling. You're going to make me cry right here in front of my customers. Good tears, I hope. The best tears, she confirms, wiping at her eyes with the back of her hand. Thank you, Wes. For seeing this place, seeing me, the way you do. Thank you for letting me see it. I straighten up as another customer approaches the door. I should let you get back to work. But we should upload these photos later. Strike while the iron's hot. Definitely. She moves back behind the counter as the customer enters. Maybe you could come back this afternoon? I'll have fresh coffee and those cookies you helped decorate. It's a date, I say, then pause as I realize what I just said. I know what you meant, she says with a smile that suggests she doesn't mind the slip. See you later, Wes. Abby's front door swings open before I can even knock, revealing my sister with a dish towel over her shoulder and flour in her hair. There's my favorite snow bunny, she says with a grin. And his faithful sidekick. Crumpet immediately abandons me for Abby, who's always been his favorite human after me. She gives him the kind of enthusiastic greeting usually reserved for returning war heroes. Roads weren't that bad, I say, following them into her cozy kitchen, where the smell of homemade beef stew makes my stomach growl. Though the town looks like a winter wonderland out there. I've been watching people trudge through the snow all morning from my living room window. She ladles stew into 2 bowls, then pulls golden, buttery biscuits from the oven. It's like a Hallmark movie out there, I say. Knowing my sister, she's been watching them on repeat since November. Speaking of Hallmark movies, Abby says, settling at the table across from me with a knowing look, how's the bet going? Please tell me you haven't slipped up and complained about anything Christmas related. Actually doing pretty well, I admit, taking a spoonful of stew. Haven't complained once since we made the deal. Really? Not even about the carolers who were going door to door yesterday before the storm hit? I pause mid-bite. There were carolers? Oh, please. Don't pretend you missed them. You're getting into the Christmas spirit whether you want to admit it or not. Abby's grin is positively wicked. Which brings me to my real question. According to my sources, you spent yesterday afternoon decorating cookies with a certain bakery owner. And then got snowed in at said bakery. I glare at her, but there's no real heat in it. She has a name, you know. Sadie, Abby says, drawing out the syllables. Sweet, cheerful, bakes like an angel, and somehow convinced my grumpy brother to judge a kids' contest without a single complaint. Am I missing anything? She's helping me with the bet, I say, focusing on my soup to avoid my sister's knowing look. Right. The bet. That's all this is about. Abby leans back in her chair. So if I were to mention that I saw you taking pictures of her bakery this morning like some kind of lovesick tourist, you'd have a completely practical explanation for that too? I set down my spoon. How did you? I may have happened to be walking by when you were crouched in the street getting the perfect angle of the sweet life. She makes air quotes around the words. Very professional. Very platonic. I was helping her with marketing photos, I defend. For her website. Of course you were. Abby's smile is pure sisterly mischief. And I'm sure it had nothing to do with the way you've been walking around like you actually enjoy being alive for the first time in months. That stops me short. What? Wes. Her voice turns gentle. You've been going through the motions for years. Work, home, sleep, repeat. But lately you seem lighter. Brighter. Like maybe you remember what it feels like to be happy. I stare at my sister, wondering when she got so perceptive. I'm fine. You're better than fine. You're interested in something again. Someone. She reaches across the table and squeezes my hand. Mom would have loved her, you know. The words hit me unexpectedly hard. Abby. I'm serious. She always said she wanted you to find someone who could make you laugh. Someone who'd challenge you to be better than you thought you could be. Abby's eyes are bright with unshed tears. And from what I've seen, Sadie does both. I sit back, processing this. It's complicated. Why? Because I might be leaving town. Because she deserves better than someone who can't even commit to staying in one place. Because you're scared, Abby finishes. Which, by the way, is totally normal. But also totally not a good enough reason to walk away from something that could be amazing. What if it doesn't work out? What if it does? She counters. Wes, you've spent so long protecting yourself from getting hurt that you've forgotten what it's like to actually live. I think about this morning, the way Sadie's face lit up when she saw those photos. The way it felt to work beside her, to be part of something she cared about. The way my whole world seemed to make more sense when she was in it. I think I'm falling for her, I admit quietly. Finally. Abby claps her hands together. An actual admission. How does it feel? Terrifying, I say honestly. And kind of amazing. Good. That means you're doing it right. She grins. So what's your next move? I have no idea. I run a hand through my hair. I'm supposed to go back this afternoon to help her upload those photos. But after that, you tell her how you feel, Abby says, like it's the most obvious thing in the world. It's not that simple. It really is, though. She stands to clear our bowls. You like her. She clearly likes you. Don't even try to deny it, I've seen the way she looks at you. You're both adults. What's complicated about that? The job offer. The fact that I don't know what I want my life to look like 6 months from now. So figure it out, Abby says pragmatically. But don't make the decision without her input. She might surprise you. As I help her clean up lunch, I find myself thinking about what she said. Maybe it is that simple. Have I been overthinking everything, trying to solve problems that don't need solving yet? Hey Abby? I say as I dry the last dish. Thanks. For the reality check. That's what little sisters are for. She bumps my shoulder with hers. Now go back to that bakery and stop being such a chicken.
Chapter 7. Sadie. The afternoon rush at the Sweet Life is busier than I've seen it in weeks. Maybe it's the post-storm cabin fever, or maybe word is getting around about the new pictures, but I've had a steady stream of customers since lunch. Mrs. Carter stops by for her usual dozen chocolate chip cookies and mentions she saw my bakery on her neighbor's social media feed. Looked absolutely magical in all that snow, she says, handing over exact change. Like something from a Christmas movie. 20 minutes later, Joe from A Regular Joe calls to double his usual order for tomorrow morning. Had 3 different people ask me where I get those snickerdoodles, he explains. Figured I better stock up. I'm boxing up cookies for the Henderson family when my phone buzzes with a notification. 3 new followers. Then another notification. 5 more likes on the Gingerbread Village photo Wes helped me post this morning. Is everything okay? Asks Sophie, the same little girl who made the sparkly ballerina cookie at the contest. You look happy surprised. I am happy surprised, I tell her, sliding her family's order across the counter. Sometimes good things happen when you least expect them. By 4 o'clock, I've sold more baked goods than I typically do on a full weekend day. The display case that was fully stocked this morning is down to a handful of items, and I'm mentally calculating whether I have enough flour and sugar to keep up with demand if this trend continues. I'm refilling the coffee station when the bells jingle and Wes walks in with Crumpet, both of them looking windblown from their afternoon walk. Busy in here, he observes, noting the crumbs on tables and the nearly empty display case. Crazy busy, I agree, unable to keep the excitement out of my voice. I think your photos are working. People have been mentioning seeing the Sweet Life on social media all afternoon. That's great. His smile is warm and genuine. I pour him a coffee without being asked, then add a splash of cream the way he likes it. Mrs. Carter said we looked magical in the snow. And Joe doubled his standing order for tomorrow. See? I knew this place just needed the right exposure. Wes settles into his usual chair by the window, and Crumpet curls up at his feet like he belongs here. Any word on the decorating contest? Voting ends Friday, I say, wiping down the counter. But honestly, I'm feeling more optimistic about everything right now. Even if I don't win, this buzz might be enough to carry me through the slow season. You're going to win, Wes says with such certainty that I almost believe him. We'll see. I lean against the counter, studying his face. How was lunch with Abby? Educational, he says with a slight grimace. My sister has opinions about my life choices. Good opinions or bad opinions? Meddling opinions. But there's affection in his voice. She thinks I should stop overthinking everything and live in the moment. Something in his tone makes my heart skip. That doesn't sound like terrible advice. No, he agrees, meeting my eyes. It doesn't. We're interrupted by another customer, a woman I don't recognize who asks specifically about the gingerbread cookies she saw on Instagram. As I box up her order, I catch Wes watching me with an expression I can't quite read. Proud, maybe, or satisfied. Like seeing my business thrive makes him genuinely happy. After the woman leaves, I flip the sign to closed and start my end-of-day cleaning routine. Wes doesn't move to leave, and I don't ask him to. Having him here while I work feels natural now, like he's become part of my daily rhythm. So what's next, he asks, helping me stack chairs on tables. More photos? Expanding the social media presence? Maybe. I'm trying not to get ahead of myself. I spray down the tables, but I can't keep the smile off my face. But for the first time in months, I feel like the sweet life might actually make it through the winter. It's going to do more than make it through, Wes says. This place is going to thrive. I hope he's right. 2 days later, I'm at a regular Joe dropping off their afternoon cookie order. The coffee shop is busier than normal with a mix of locals warming up from the cold and a few tourists who apparently think our post-storm town looks picturesque enough to brave the icy roads. Perfect timing, Joe says, taking the boxes from me. I've got even more people asking about the snickerdoodles today. The power of social media, I say with a smile, pulling out my phone to show him the latest comments. Your customers are helping spread the word. As Joe rings me up for my usual afternoon peppermint mocha, I lean against the counter and half listen to the conversations around me. Mrs. Peterson is telling someone about her book club, and there's a table of teenagers debating whether to order hot chocolate or coffee. Normal coffee shop chatter. That's when I hear Wes's name mentioned at the table directly behind me. His friend called again yesterday, says a voice I recognize as belonging to Tom Miller, who works for the city. That construction job down in South Carolina. Apparently he's pushing for an answer. My stomach clenches, but I force myself to stay still, pretending to watch Joe steam milk while I strain to hear more. About time Wes made a decision, responds another man, Bill something, I think, who works at the hardware store. He's been going through the motions here for months. Maybe years. The coffee machine hisses, but I catch Tom's response. Can't blame him. A man like that should be running his own operation, not fixing potholes and untangling Christmas lights. This partnership sounds like exactly what he's been waiting for. Think he'll take it? Bill asks. Would you stick around Chestnut Creek if someone offered you a real future? I heard his friend's getting impatient and wants an answer by Monday. My heart sinks. Honestly, I'm surprised he's taken this long to decide, Tom continues. Everyone can see his heart hasn't been in the work lately. Like he's just marking time until something better comes along. Joe calls out my total, snapping me back to the present. I fumble with my payment, my hands suddenly shaky as I try to process what I've just heard. You okay, Sadie? He asks, concern creeping into his voice as he hands me my drink. Fine, I manage, grabbing my coffee. Just tired. I hurry out of the coffee shop, my mind racing. So Wes has been checked out for months, just waiting for his real life to start somewhere else. And here I've been, thinking that the time we've spent together meant something. Thinking that maybe I was helping him rediscover some joy in his life, when really I was just a distraction while he waited for his escape route. By the time I reach the sweet life, doubt has settled in my chest like a stone. All those moments I thought we were building something, when we huddled together during the snowstorm, the way he helped with the photos, the comfortable silence as we worked together, maybe I'd been reading too much into them. Maybe to him, I really was just a project. A way to kill time and honor a bet with his sister before he moved on to the life he actually wanted. I unlock the bakery door and step inside, breathing in the familiar scent of cinnamon and vanilla. This place has been my refuge for years, my proof that I could build something meaningful on my own terms. But suddenly it feels small and insignificant. The smart thing would be to ask him directly. To have an honest conversation about his deadline and what his decision might mean for whatever this is between us. But I already know the answer, don't I? If his heart hasn't been in his work for months, then what we have together is nothing more than a pleasant diversion. A way to pass the time before he gets on with his real life. And I refuse to be someone's consolation prize again.
Chapter 8. Wes. Something's off with Sadie, and I can't figure out what. She's smiling when customers come in, chatting about the decorating contest and thanking people for sharing her photos on social media. But there's a distance in her eyes that wasn't there a few days ago, like she's pulled back from whatever was building between us. I notice it first when I stop by Wednesday afternoon with coffee from a regular Joe. She accepts it with genuine gratitude, but when our fingers brush during the handoff, she doesn't let the contact linger the way she used to. Everything okay? I ask, studying her face as she takes a sip. Of course. Just busy. She gestures toward the kitchen, where I can see cooling racks full of cookies. The social media boost has been amazing. I can barely keep up with demand. That's good, right? Very good. But her smile doesn't quite reach her eyes. I should get back to work, though. The Historical Society wants 36 decorated cookies for their last meeting before the candlelight walk. I leave feeling unsettled, like I've missed something important. The feeling only gets worse when I see her again on Thursday. She's polite, friendly even, but there's a wall there that definitely wasn't before. By Friday evening, I'm sitting in my living room with Crumpet stretched out across my feet, scrolling through the photos we took together and trying to figure out where I went wrong. The pictures tell the story of something good. Sadie laughing as she shows me how to pipe frosting, both of us covered in flour after an afternoon of baking, the satisfied exhaustion on our faces after uploading her first real social media campaign. We looked like a team. We looked like people who belonged together. My phone buzzes with a text from my friend in South Carolina. Need an answer by next week, man. I'm ready to get rolling first of the year. I stare at the message, my thumb hovering over the keyboard. For weeks, no, for months, I've been going through the motions here in Chestnut Creek, telling myself I was being practical, waiting for the right opportunity to come along. The construction partnership is everything I thought I wanted. Real projects, my own crew, the chance to build something lasting instead of maintaining what's already broken. It's the dream I had before Mom died and responsibility for Abby anchored me here. The kind of opportunity that doesn't come around twice, especially for someone like me, living in a small town in the middle of nowhere. But that was before Sadie looked at me like I might be worth keeping around. Before I discovered that fixing her oven felt more important than any construction project I could imagine. And before I realized that maybe what I thought was just going through the motions was actually me building a life worth staying for. I scroll back through the photos, stopping on one of Sadie arranging cookies for a shot. She's completely focused, her tongue poking out slightly as she adjusts the angle of a snowflake cookie. There's flour in her hair and a smudge of frosting on her cheek, and she looks absolutely perfect. What do you think, boy? I ask Crumpet, who opens one eye to look at me. Think I've been a fool for taking this long to figure out what I actually want? Crumpet's tail thumps once against the floor, which I choose to interpret as yes, definitely a fool, but it's not too late to fix it. The problem is, I'm not sure Sadie sees it the same way. She's known from the beginning that I might leave. That I was planning to choose South Carolina over Chestnut Creek. Over her. But what if I don't want to choose South Carolina? What if what I want is right here, covered in flour and worried about ovens and decorating contests, bringing light to everything she touches? I set my phone aside without answering the text. Next week feels like a deadline I'm not ready to meet, especially when I don't understand what's changed between Sadie and me. Whatever's going on, I need to figure it out before I make any decisions about leaving. Because walking away from the best thing that's happened to me in years, walking away from her, might be the kind of mistake I'd regret for the rest of my life. Crumpet shifts against my feet, and I reach down to scratch behind his ears. Tomorrow's the contest, I tell him. Maybe after that, I'll finally work up the courage to tell her the truth. The truth that somewhere between gingerbread judging and cookie decorating, I stopped just going through the motions and started living again. And I want to keep living here, with her, if she'll have me. I just hope it's not too late.
Chapter 9. Sadie. I've rearranged the gingerbread village display 3 times this morning, and it still doesn't look right. The little houses that seemed so charming a week ago now look amateurish compared to what I imagine my competition has created. I move the church to the left, then back to the right, then consider scrapping the whole thing and starting over. Stop it, I mutter to myself, stepping back from the window. It's fine. It's better than fine. But my hands are shaking as I adjust the string lights for the 4th time, and it has nothing to do with contest nerves. Monday. Wes has until Monday to give his answer, and then he'll probably be gone before New Year's. Maybe even before Christmas, if his friend is as impatient as Tom Miller suggested. I force myself to focus on the contest prep. The voting ends in a few days, and I need every advantage I can get. I add more artificial snow around the base of the village, then string tiny silver stars between the houses. They catch the morning light beautifully, creating exactly the kind of magical atmosphere that wins decorating contests. At least, I hope it does. The bells above my door jingle, and Mrs. Peterson enters with her usual Friday morning energy. Oh my goodness, Sadie. That display just keeps getting more beautiful. Thank you, I say, mustering a smile. I've been making some final adjustments. Well, you've got my vote. She approaches the counter, eyeing the fresh batch of cinnamon rolls I pulled from the oven an hour ago. And probably half the town's, from what I'm hearing. Here's hoping. I box up her usual order, trying to keep my hands steady. How's the book club? Wonderful. Everyone's still talking about those decorated cookies you made us. Mrs. Carter posted pictures on social media, and now her daughter in Asheville wants to order some for her office party. That's great, I say automatically, though the words feel hollow. What's the point of building up the business if the person who helped make it possible is about to disappear from my life? After Mrs. Peterson leaves, I attack the display case with unnecessary vigor, rearranging cookies that were already perfectly arranged. Anything to keep my hands busy and my mind off the calendar. Off Monday's deadline. Off the way Wes looked at me during the snowstorm like maybe I was worth staying for. But I was wrong about that, wasn't I? If he'd wanted to stay, he would have made that decision weeks ago. The fact that he's still debating means Chestnut Creek is not enough to compete with whatever South Carolina is offering. The thought makes my chest tight with a familiar ache. I've been here before, with David in Chicago. Thinking I was building something real with someone, only to discover I was never actually in the running for their heart. Just a placeholder until something better came along. I'm arranging ribbon around the base of the gingerbread village when the bells jingle again. This time it's Wes, looking uncertain in a way I've never seen before. Hey, he says, hands shoved deep in his jacket pockets. How's the contest prep going? Good. Fine. I don't trust myself to look at him directly. Just making some last-minute adjustments. It looks incredible. He steps closer to the window, and I catch the scent of his soap, something clean and masculine that makes me want to lean into him. You've outdone yourself. We'll see if the judges agree. I step back, putting distance between us. How's your day off? Quiet. There's something in his voice I can't identify. Sadie, can we? I should get back to work, I interrupt, afraid of what he might say. Afraid he'll tell me about Monday's deadline, about his decision to leave, about how our Christmas coaching sessions have been nice, but it's time for him to get on with his real life. Of course. He looks hurt by the dismissal, but he backs toward the door. I'll see you later. For the results. Sure, I say, already turning back to the display case. See you later. After he leaves, I sink into one of the chairs by the window and finally let myself admit the truth I've been avoiding all week. I don't just want him to stay in Chestnut Creek. I want him to stay for me. I want him to choose this small town and my chaotic bakery and the complicated, wonderful thing that's been growing between us over whatever perfect opportunity is waiting for him in South Carolina. But wanting something doesn't make it true. And I've learned the hard way that you can't compete with someone's dreams of a bigger, better life. The oven dies at 2:30 in the afternoon, right in the middle of baking my biggest cookie order of the week. I'm pulling out the second batch of sugar cookies for the Chamber of Commerce holiday mixer when the temperature display starts flashing. Then it goes dark. Then the whole unit shudders to a stop with a mechanical groan that sounds disturbingly final. No, 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 I mutter, jabbing at the power button. Nothing. I check the circuit breaker, wiggle every connection I can reach, even give the side panel a desperate kick. Still nothing. The cookies on the baking sheets beside me are perfectly chilled and ready to go in. Ready to be baked to a light golden crisp that feels impossible now. I have 48 more cookies to deliver by 5 o'clock, and my primary means of production just became a very expensive metal box. I sink into one of my kitchen chairs and stare at the dead oven, feeling the familiar panic rise in my throat. This is it. This is how the sweet life dies. Not with a bang, but with a mechanical whimper on a Friday afternoon in December. For exactly 3 seconds, I consider calling Wes. He fixed it before. Maybe he could work another miracle. But the thought stops me cold. If he's leaving town anyway, I can't keep relying on him to solve my problems. Besides, what happens next time? And the time after that? I can't build a business on borrowed fixes from someone whose heart is already somewhere else. I allow myself a couple of heartbeats to feel sorry for myself. To think about how unfair it is that I'm finally building momentum just as everything falls apart. To wonder if this is a sign that I should give up, pack it in, maybe look for a job at one of the big chain bakeries in Greenville or Charlotte. Then I stand up and get to work. I grab my phone and start calling every appliance store within 50 miles. The first 3 don't have anything in stock. The fourth has a used residential oven that's been sitting in their warehouse for 2 months. It's not commercial grade, the salesman warns. Won't handle the volume you're probably used to. And it's been sitting for a while. No warranty. How much? I ask, already calculating space in my kitchen. $300. Cash. Plus delivery if you need it today. I'll take it. And yes, I need it today. We can have it there by 4. While I wait, I start strategizing. I can't replace a commercial oven with a residential one and expect to maintain my current production levels. But maybe I don't have to. I raid my recipe collection for every no-bake option I know. Chocolate truffles, peanut butter balls, no-bake cookies, fudge, chocolate bark, puppy chow. I can make icebox cakes, parfait cups, maybe even some kind of chocolate mousse situation. It's not my usual repertoire, but desperate times call for creative solutions. I also start portioning cookie dough into family-sized bags. If I can't bake all the cookies people want, I can at least provide them with the means to bake their own. The take and bake kits are genius in their simplicity. By 4 o'clock, I'm kneeling on my kitchen floor with a wrench, disconnecting my old residential oven to make room for the new used one. It's smaller than what I had before, significantly smaller than what I need, but it runs and it heats up. The delivery guys hook up the gas line and pronounce it ready to go. I tip them $20 I can't really afford and immediately load the oven with what's left of the sugar cookie dough. Please work, I whisper as I set the timer. Just work long enough for me to figure out what comes next. While the first batch bakes, I throw myself into the no-bake options. I melt chocolate, measure powdered sugar, roll truffles with hands that are finally steady again. This isn't the bakery I plan to run, but it's the bakery I have right now. The timer dings, and I hold my breath as I open the oven door. The cookies are golden brown and perfect, just like they should be. I could cry with relief, but there's no time for that. I have 42 more cookies to bake, one painful batch at a time. I load the next batch and keep working. Chocolate bark spread on parchment paper. Cookie dough portioned and labeled. Truffle filling chilling in the refrigerator. I work with the focused intensity of someone who knows that stopping means sinking. By 5:30, I've delivered the Chamber of Commerce cookies and completely reorganized my business model. The front display case now features a new section labeled No Bake Treats and Take Home Kits. The truffles look elegant in their paper cups, the cookie dough packages have clear baking instructions, and I've already fielded 2 phone calls asking about custom fudge orders. It's not how I used to run things. It's messier, more labor-intensive, and requires me to be 10 times more creative about production. But it's working. And more importantly, it's mine. My phone buzzes with a text from Abby, "How are you holding up? Heard through the grapevine that you had some equipment trouble." Small towns. Nothing stays secret for long. I text back, "Handled it. New oven, new game plan. Ready for whatever comes next." Good for you. Need any help with final contest prep this weekend? I look around my transformed kitchen, then toward the front window where my gingerbread village sits, looking somehow smaller and more fragile than it did this morning. With everything that's happened today, I haven't had time to think about the contest, much less put finishing touches on my display. Actually, that would be great. Tomorrow afternoon? You got it. Hang in there. As I start another batch of truffles and queue up the next round of cookies in my tiny oven, I feel something I didn't expect. Pride. Not in the situation, which is objectively terrible, but in my response to it. I didn't call for rescue. I didn't give up. I adapted and kept moving forward. That has to count for something. The contest judging happens this weekend, and I still have work to do to make my display as compelling as possible. But tonight, I'm going to focus on what I can control, making the best treats possible with the equipment I have, and proving to myself that the sweet life can survive anything. Even if the man I've been falling for can't.
Chapter 10. Wes. I stand outside the sweet life for a full minute before working up the courage to knock. It's Saturday late in the afternoon, and through the window I can see Sadie arranging something in her display case. She moves with the focused intensity I've come to recognize. It's the way she works when she's determined not to let anything break her stride. I heard about the oven from Tom Miller, who heard it from his wife, who apparently witnessed the appliance delivery yesterday. Small-town gossip travels faster than bad news, and by this morning, half of Chestnut Creek knew that Sadie's commercial oven had finally given up the ghost. The red Santa hat feels ridiculous on my head, but I promised to wear it, and I'm a man of my word. Even if everything else about this situation feels complicated beyond belief. I knock, and Sadie looks up with surprise when she sees me through the glass. She unlocks the door with a small smile that doesn't quite reach her eyes. "You actually wore it," she says, nodding at the hat. "I keep my promises." I step inside, Crumpet patting behind me and immediately going to investigate the corners of the bakery for any dropped crumbs. "Heard you had some equipment trouble yesterday." Word travels fast. She locks the door behind us and flips the sign to "Closed for display prep," then crouches down to give Crumpet his expected greeting. But I handled it. New oven, new business model, same determination to win this thing. Crumpet accepts her attention with his usual dignity, then settles into his favorite spot by the front window to supervise our work. I follow her toward the front window, where her gingerbread village sits looking somehow more delicate than before. Maybe it's the late afternoon light, or maybe it's knowing how much she needs this contest to work out. "What can I do to help?" I ask. "Honestly? I'm not sure there's much left to do." She gestures at the display, which looks perfect to me but clearly doesn't meet her standards. I keep thinking there should be more, but I don't know what. "Tell me what you're going for." "Magic," she says without hesitation. The kind of Christmas feeling that makes people stop and remember why they love this season. "But looking at it now." She trails off, shaking her head. I study the display more carefully. The gingerbread houses are beautifully crafted, the lights create a warm glow, and the artificial snow gives everything a fairy tale quality. But she's right. Something's missing. What if it's not about adding more? I suggest. What if it's about telling a story? "What kind of story?" I point to the little gingerbread church in the center of the village. That's where the Christmas Eve service happens. The place where the whole community comes together. She nods, following my logic. And this house, I continue, indicating a small cottage with yellow icing windows, that's where the family with young kids lives. You can see the warm light spilling out, imagine them inside making hot chocolate. And this one? Sadie points to a larger house on the edge of the village. That's where the grandmother lives. The one who always has extra cookies for anyone who stops by. I move around the display, and she follows. And this bakery here. This is the heart of it all. The place where everyone comes for birthday cakes and comfort food and the kind of conversation that makes a house feel like home. Sadie's eyes brighten as she catches the vision. So it's not just a pretty scene. It's a community. Exactly. And communities aren't perfect. They're real. They have stories. We spend the next hour bringing that concept to life. Sadie finds tiny figurines she'd considered too small for the display. There's a couple walking hand in hand, children building a snowman, and an old man sitting on a bench feeding birds. Each one gets carefully positioned to suggest a life being lived, a story unfolding. There, she says, stepping back after placing the last figure of a woman in an apron standing in the doorway of the gingerbread bakery. It's perfect. She's right. The village has transformed from a pretty decoration into something that feels alive. Something that makes you want to step inside and be part of whatever magic is happening there. You did that, I tell her. I just helped you see what was already there. We did that, she corrects softly. Thank you, Wes. For all of it. There's something in her voice that makes me look at her more carefully. She's staring at the display, but I can see tears gathering in her eyes. Hey, I say gently. You okay? Just tired. It's been a long couple of days. She wipes at her eyes with the back of her hand. And I keep thinking about how different everything might be after tonight. What do you mean? The judging happens tomorrow. Win or lose, things are going to change. She turns to face me fully. And not just with the contest. My heart stops. Does she know about the job offer? About the deadline that's been hanging over my head like a sword? Sadie. I know you have decisions to make, she interrupts quietly. About your future. About whether Chestnut Creek is where you want to build your life. The words I should say stick in my throat. This is my chance to tell her everything. Tell her about the offer. About the deadline. About how somewhere between judging gingerbread contests and getting snowed in at her bakery, I realized that the life I want might be exactly the one I already have. Instead, I say, decisions aren't always as clear-cut as they seem. No, she agrees softly. They're not. She steps closer, close enough that I can see the flecks of gold in her brown eyes. But I hope whatever you decide, it's what's right for you. What if I don't know what's right anymore? Then maybe that means you're asking the right questions. We stand there for a moment, the weight of unspoken words hanging between us. I want to tell her everything, but the fear of choosing wrong, of disappointing her, of ruining what we've built, keeps me silent. Then Crumpet whines from his spot by the door, breaking the spell. I should let you get ready for tomorrow, I say, stepping back reluctantly. Right. Big day. She nods, but her eyes never leave mine. Will you be there? For the announcement? Wouldn't miss it. I head toward the door, then turn back. Sadie? Whatever happens with the contest, you've already won something more important. What's that? You've built something that matters. Something that makes this town better just by existing. I gesture toward the gingerbread village, but I mean more than just the display. That's the kind of magic that lasts. As Crumpet and I head back out into the December evening, I can't shake the feeling that I just missed something important. A moment that won't come again, a chance to say what needed saying. Dinner with Abby is supposed to be a distraction, but I spend most of it pushing mashed potatoes around my plate and giving one-word answers to her attempts at conversation. Okay, spill, she finally says, setting down her fork. What's eating you? And don't say nothing, because you've been staring at that chicken like it personally offended you. I glance at my phone, which has been face down on the table since we sat down. 2 missed calls and 3 text messages, all from South Carolina. All asking the same question I've been avoiding for weeks. Remember that job offer I mentioned? I say finally. The construction partnership? The one you've been agonizing over for months? Yeah, I remember. Abby leans back in her chair, studying my face. What about it? They need an answer. Ah. She nods slowly. Hence the brooding and the food abuse. I'm not brooding. You're absolutely brooding. The question is why? She reaches across the table and flips my phone face up, revealing another text notification. This is what you've always wanted, right? Your own business, real projects, a chance to build something meaningful? Right. But even as I say it, the words feel hollow. So what's the problem? I think about this afternoon at the bakery, the way Sadie's face lit up when we figured out how to make her gingerbread village tell a story. The easy way we worked together, like we'd been a team for years instead of weeks. The moment when she stood close enough that I could have kissed her, should have kissed her, and told her everything instead of letting fear keep me silent. I don't know if I want to leave anymore, I admit. Abby raises an eyebrow. Because of a certain bakery owner? Because of a lot of things. I pick up my phone, scrolling through my messages. This town, this life. You. It's not the grand adventure I thought I wanted when I was 25, but maybe that's okay. Or maybe you're scared of taking a risk because it means leaving your comfort zone. That stings because it might be true. I'm not scared. Aren't you? Abby's voice is gentle but direct. Wes, you've been playing it safe for 5 years. Safe job, safe routine, safe emotional distance from anything that might hurt you. And now you have 2 choices: take a leap towards something you used to dream about, or stay here and build something new with someone who clearly cares about you. What if I choose wrong? What if you choose right? She reaches over and squeezes my hand. Either way, you have to choose. Sitting in limbo isn't fair to anyone. Not to your friend, not to Sadie, and not to yourself. After dinner, I sit in my truck in Abby's driveway, staring at my phone. I think about Sadie's face this afternoon when she said she hoped my decision would make me happy. The way she stepped closer when I almost told her what she means to me. The careful distance she's been keeping all week, like she's already preparing for me to leave. Maybe she's smarter than I am. Maybe she's already figured out that this thing between us, whatever it is, can't compete with a real career opportunity. A chance to build the life I always planned to have. I dial the number before I can change my mind. Hey, comes the familiar voice. I wasn't expecting to hear from you until Monday. I made up my mind. Figured I might as well make it final. And you're calling with good news, right? Please tell me you're calling with good news. I close my eyes and think about the partnership agreement sitting in my email. The chance to run my own crew, take on real projects, build something that matters beyond fixing potholes and untangling Christmas lights. I'm in, I say. When do you need me? Seriously? That's fantastic. I was hoping you'd say that. The enthusiasm in his voice should be infectious, but all I feel is a hollow ache in my chest. How soon can you get down here? We've got a project starting January 2nd that would be perfect for you to jump in on. January 2nd. Less than 3 weeks away. I'll need to give notice, tie up some loose ends. How about the week after New Year's? Perfect. This is going to be great, man. You're going to love it down here. After I hang up, I sit in the truck for a long time, watching my breath fog the windows and wondering why making the practical choice feels so much like making a mistake. I think about Sadie working with her tiny replacement oven, adapting and innovating instead of giving up. About the way she looked at that gingerbread village like it contained all the magic in the world. About how she'll find out tomorrow that actually I'm leaving, and there won't be a lot of time to explain that this decision has nothing to do with her and everything to do with me and the promises I made to myself. I start the truck and head home, Crumpet sleeping peacefully in the passenger seat, unaware that I've just upended both our lives.
Chapter 11. Sadie. I'm arranging a fresh batch of no-bake chocolate crunch bars in the display case when I hear Tom Miller's voice through the front window. He's talking to the guy who runs the hardware store, and they're standing close enough to the glass that every word carries clearly into the bakery. Talked to Wes this morning. He quit his job with the city. Tom says. Guess he finally made his decision about that South Carolina job and is getting ready to pack up and leave. My hands freeze on the display tray. About time, Bill responds. Though I'm surprised he's leaving so soon. Thought he'd at least stick around through New Year's. His friend wants him down there by January 2nd. Makes sense to get a head start on the move. The chocolate bar I'm holding slips from my fingers and hits the floor. I stare at it for a moment, my brain struggling to process what I just heard. He's leaving. Not just considering it, not just debating it. He's actively packing. Moving to South Carolina, and he hasn't said a word to me about it. I abandon the display case and grab my coat from the hook by the register. The bells jingle aggressively as I push through the door, barely pausing to flip the sign to "Back soon." I find Wes at his house, cleaning out his garage with methodical precision. Boxes are stacked along one wall, and he's sorting through tools and equipment. Crumpet sits nearby, watching the proceedings with the patient resignation of a dog who's seen this routine before. Going somewhere? I ask, my voice sharper than I intended. Wes straightens up from the toolbox he's been organizing, and I can see the guilt written all over his face. Sadie. I was going to. Going to what? Tell me eventually. Send a postcard from South Carolina? I cross my arms over my chest, partly for warmth and partly to keep my hands from shaking. When exactly were you planning to mention that you'd quit your job? It's not that simple. Actually, it is that simple. I step closer, anger overriding the hurt that's threatening to swallow me whole. You made a choice. You accepted the job. You quit the one here without saying a word. What's complicated about that? Wes sets down the wrench he's been holding, looking everywhere except at me. I was going to tell you after the contest results. I didn't want to distract you from. From what? From caring about whether you stayed or left? The words come out louder than I intended, and I'm grateful we're in his driveway instead of on Main Street. Did you think I wouldn't find out? This is Chestnut Creek. Everyone knows everything. That's not. He finally meets my eyes, and I can see something raw and uncertain there. I never meant for this to get complicated. This? I repeat. You mean us? The time we spent together? The way you helped me save my business and I helped you find some Christmas magic? All of that was what? A complication? No. His voice is firm, but his expression remains guarded. That's not what I meant. Then what did you mean? He's quiet for a long moment, and I can practically see him choosing his words carefully. The partnership is a good opportunity. It's what I've been working toward for years. It makes sense. Financially, professionally, personally. Personally? The word tastes bitter. How does leaving everything and everyone you know make sense personally? Because staying means, he stops himself, shaking his head. Look, this isn't about you, okay? This is about building a real career, making something of myself. Chestnut Creek it's small. Limited. I can't grow here the way I need to. Each word hits like a physical blow. So we're too small for you. This town, this life. The people who care about you. I didn't say that. You did. I wrap my arms tighter around myself, suddenly feeling every degree of the December cold. You know what's funny? I actually thought we were building something real. I thought maybe, I laugh, but there's no humor in it. Sadie, please. No. I step back, putting distance between us. You made your choice, and it's not me. It's not this place that you've been stuck in, apparently. It's fine, Wes. I get it. I've been here before. What's that supposed to mean? It means I know what it's like to not be enough for someone to want to stay. The words come out quieter than I intended, but they land with impact. I can see it in the way his face changes, the way his whole body seems to deflate slightly. That's not. It is, though. I'm backing toward the street now, needing to get away before I say something I'll regret. Or worse, before I start crying in front of him. Good luck in South Carolina, Wes. I hope you build everything you're looking for. The contest results are announced Monday evening at the town square, and I almost don't go. After the confrontation with Wes, the last thing I want is to stand in a crowd pretending to smile while my heart feels like it's been put through a blender. But Abby texts me 3 times, and Mrs. Peterson stops by the bakery to remind me that the whole town will be watching, so I close up early and trudge through the December cold to hear my fate. The mayor stands on the gazebo steps with a clipboard and what I'm sure he thinks is an appropriately festive red tie. The business owners cluster nearby, each trying to look casual while clearly being anything but. Thank you all for participating in this year's Spirit of the Season decorating contest, he begins, his breath creating little puffs in the cold air. The competition was particularly strong this year, and our judges had a difficult time choosing the winners. My stomach churns as he draws out the suspense with comments about community spirit and holiday traditions. I scan the crowd for Wes out of habit, then remember with a fresh stab of pain that he's probably at home packing boxes for his new life. In third place, the mayor announces, we have the Sweet Life Bakery, with their charming gingerbread village that tells the story of our community. Third place. The polite applause sounds muffled through the ringing in my ears. I manage to step forward and accept the small bronze plaque with what I hope passes for a gracious smile, but inside I'm crumbling. Third place means honorable mention. Third place means nice try, better luck next year. Third place means the publicity boost I desperately needed just became a participation trophy. Second place goes to In Retrospect, for their stunning vintage Christmas window that transported us all back to holidays of yesteryear. More applause. Garrett, who owns the vintage toy shop, beams as he accepts his silver plaque. And first place, for the 3rd year running, goes to Chestnut Creek Candle Company and Noelle for her Winter Wonderland display that perfectly captured the magic of the season. Of course one of those two would win. They've been trying to one-up each other for years. And here I am with a bronze plaque and a business model held together with determination and duct tape. I slip away from the crowd before the inevitable round of congratulations and commiserations. The last thing I need right now is well-meaning sympathy from people who don't understand that this contest was supposed to save my bakery, not just decorate it. By the time I unlock the Sweet Life's front door, tears are threatening again. I flip on the lights and stare at my gingerbread village, which looks smaller and more amateurish than ever in the aftermath of defeat. Third place, I tell the tiny gingerbread people. Hope you're proud of yourselves. I'm contemplating whether it's too early to take down the display entirely when the bells jingle behind me. I turn, expecting to see Abby or Mrs. Peterson with comforting words I don't want to hear. Instead, it's the Mitchell family, parents and 2 young kids I recognize from the grocery store but don't know well. Are you open? Mrs. Mitchell asks hesitantly. We saw the lights and hoped. Of course, I say, forcing myself into business mode. What can I get for you? We heard about your no-bake treats, she explains as her kids press their faces against the display case. And we saw the photos online. Everything looks amazing. I box up their selections, chocolate truffles, take-home cookie dough, and some of the chocolate crunch bars, while the kids debate the merits of different sprinkle colors. They're followed by the Watson family, then Mrs. Jameson, then people I don't recognize at all. Saw your bakery on Instagram, explains a woman from the next town over. That grumpy guy in the Santa hat made it look so cozy. The gingerbread village photos were gorgeous, adds another customer. My daughter shared them with her college friends. By 8 o'clock, I've sold more treats than I typically do on a full weekend. The display case is nearly empty, and I've taken orders for 3 custom no-bake dessert platters. I'm ringing up the last customer when Abby appears, slightly out of breath and carrying a bottle of wine. There you are, she says as the customer leaves with a box of truffles. I've been looking everywhere for you. Why did you disappear after the announcement? Because I lost, I say simply. Third place is losing. Third place is amazing. Do you see this? She gestures around the nearly empty bakery. You've had a steady stream of customers all evening. People are talking about the sweet life all over social media. It's nice, but nothing. Abby sets the wine on the counter and fixes me with a stern look. Sadie, you entered that contest to get publicity for your bakery. Mission accomplished. You think everyone who came in here tonight cared about what place you came in? I consider this, thinking about the customers who mentioned Instagram photos and online recommendations. I guess not. You guess correctly. She uncorks the wine and looks around for glasses. Where do you keep cups? Behind the register. I hand her 2 coffee mugs, which will have to do. But Abby, the contest was supposed to. The contest was supposed to help people notice your bakery. And they have. Thanks to some gorgeous photos and a certain grumpy guy in a Santa hat who helped you tell your story. At the mention of Wes, my chest tightens again. About that grumpy guy. I know, Abby says softly, pouring wine into both mugs. I heard about it this morning. I'm sorry, Sadie. He's an idiot. He's following his dreams. I can't fault him for that. I can fault him for the way he handled it. She hands me a mug of wine. But that's his loss, not yours. Look at what you've built here. Look at how many people came out tonight just to support you. I take a sip of wine and look around the bakery, at the nearly empty display case, the gingerbread village that might be third place but still makes people smile, the take-home cookie dough kits that turned a crisis into an opportunity. I did build something, didn't I? I say quietly. You built something amazing. And you did it without needing to win a contest or impress anyone else. Abby raises her mug. To the sweet life, and to the woman who refuses to let anything keep her down. To bronze plaques and backup ovens, I add, clinking my mug against hers. As we finish our wine and I clean up from the evening rush, I realize Abby's right. The contest was never really about winning. It was about proving that my bakery deserved to survive. And judging by tonight's response, that mission was accomplished with or without a first-place trophy. It doesn't make Wes's leaving hurt any less. But it does make me believe that the sweet life, and I will be okay without him.
Chapter 12. Wes. I'm driving through town, ostensibly to pick up mail from the post office and close out my box, but really because I can't seem to stay away from Main Street. Even though seeing the sweet life just reminds me of everything I'm walking away from. What I don't expect is the line of people waiting outside the bakery at 9 in the morning. I slow down as I pass, taking in the scene. There's Mrs. Peterson with her usual Tuesday order, but also the family from the hardware store, a couple I recognize from the bank, and at least 6 people I don't know at all. The open sign is lit, and through the window I can see Sadie moving behind the counter with the focused energy I've come to love. She's not just surviving without me. She's thriving. I park across the street and watch for 20 minutes as customer after customer leaves with boxes and bags, all of them smiling. A woman exits with what looks like a custom cake, and 2 teenagers come out sharing a box of cookies, laughing about something. This is what I'm leaving behind. Not just Sadie, but this. The community she's built, the joy she brings to people's lives, the way she makes everything around her a little brighter. My phone rings, startling me out of my thoughts. Abby's name appears on the screen. Are you stalking the bakery? She asks without preamble. I look around, confused. How did you? Mrs. Jameson saw your truck parked across from the Sweet Life and called me. She was concerned you might be having some kind of breakdown. I'm not having a breakdown. Aren't you? Abby's voice is gentle but direct. Wes, you quit a job you've had for 5 years to take a job you don't really want, in a place where you don't know anyone, leaving behind everyone and everything that matters to you. If that's not a breakdown, what is it? I watch another customer exit the bakery, this one carrying a take and bake cookie kit. It's practical. It's stupid. The gentleness is gone from Abby's voice. And you know it. You think I can't tell you've been miserable since you made that call? You think I don't know you've been driving past her bakery every day like some lovesick teenager? I haven't been. You have been. And you know what? I'm glad. Because it means there's still hope for you to come to your senses. I lean back in my seat, suddenly exhausted. What if I already burned that bridge? What if she doesn't want anything to do with me after the way I handled things? Then you fight for her. You apologize, you grovel if necessary, and you prove that you're worth a second chance. Abby pauses. But first, you have to actually want that second chance. Do you? I think about South Carolina. About the partnership, the new town, the life I thought I wanted. Then I think about Sadie's laugh when she saw those photos of her bakery, the way she looked at the gingerbread village like it contained all the magic in the world, the moment we shared during the snowstorm that I've been replaying in my head for weeks. Yeah, I say quietly. I do. Good. Because I may have already started organizing something that could help. What kind of something? The kind where the whole town chips in to buy a commercial oven for a bakery owner who's too proud to ask for help but too important to lose. I sit up straighter. Abby, what did you do? I did what you should have done weeks ago. I asked people to help save something that matters. Her voice turned serious. Wes, you have no idea how many people Sadie has touched in this town. When I explained what happened with her oven, the response was overwhelming. How overwhelming? The kind where we'll have enough for a commercial oven, installation, and maybe some cushion for unexpected expenses. It arrives Christmas Eve morning. Christmas Eve. Tomorrow. But I wanted to be the one. You wanted to be the one what? To help her? To show you care? Abby's voice softens. Wes, I organized this because I could see you were too scared to do it yourself. But don't think for a second that this isn't about you choosing her. Showing up with that oven, staying in Chestnut Creek. That's all you. I swallow hard. By the way, congratulations, she says when I stay quiet. For what? Winning the bet. I guess we'll have to find someone else to MC the Christmas Eve festival, she says. With everything going on, I'd forgotten about the silly little bet that set all this in motion. That brought me and Sadie together. I might do it anyway, I say. That's the Wes I know and love, Abby says. Now go get your girl. After we hang up, I sit in my truck for another few minutes, watching the steady stream of customers at the Sweet Life. Then I pull out my phone and call my buddy in South Carolina. Hey! Perfect timing, comes the enthusiastic voice. I was just going over the project timeline for next week. You're going to love this first job. I can't do it, I interrupt before I lose my nerve. I'm sorry, but I can't take the partnership. He's silent long enough that I wonder if the call dropped. What do you mean you can't take it? We've been planning this for months. I've already told the clients you're coming on board. I know, and I'm sorry. I'll pay for any costs or complications this causes. But I can't leave Chestnut Creek. Are you kidding me? This is everything we talked about. Your own business, real projects, financial security. What could possibly be more important than that? I look around my truck, then toward the bakery where Sadie is building something beautiful with nothing but determination and heart. Home, I say simply. This is home. After I hang up, following 10 more minutes of arguing and disappointed silence, I feel something I haven't felt in weeks, relief. Like I can finally breathe again. My next call is to Tom Miller at the city offices. Wes? What's up? Thought you'd already cleared out your desk. I want to rescind my resignation, I say. If the position's still available. Well, that's a surprise. We haven't posted it yet. Figured we'd deal with hiring after the holidays. You sure about this? I'm sure. Good. Can you come in right away? There's a situation with a raccoon in the big Christmas tree. Christmas Eve morning dawns clear and cold. I'm waiting for the delivery crew in the parking lot behind the Sweet Life. The bakery is lit up and I catch a glimpse of Sadie working in the back, mixing and baking in an oven that looks smaller than the one back at my place. At 8 sharp, the delivery truck pulls up. I walk around to the front of the bakery and knock on the door, my heart hammering against my ribs. Sadie appears at the window, flour already dusting her apron, looking confused when she sees me. She unlocks the door but doesn't open it wide. Wes? What are you doing here? I have something for you. From the town. I gesture toward the delivery truck. Can we bring it through the back? What kind of something? The kind that requires professional installation. I meet her eyes. Trust me? She studies my face for a long moment, then nods slowly. Okay. 20 minutes later, we're standing in her kitchen watching the delivery crew maneuver a brand new commercial oven through the back door. It barely fits, and it takes all 4 of us to get it positioned and connected, but by 9 o'clock it's installed and ready to go. Beautiful unit, says the lead technician, running through the final checklist. You'll be able to bake anything you want with this baby. I tip the crew and thank them. After they leave, I stand with Sadie in her kitchen, both of us staring at the gleaming oven. Merry Christmas, Sadie. She stares at the oven, then at me, then back at the oven. What is this? It's a commercial oven. 6-burner, convection, digital temperature control. Should handle anything you want to throw at it. I can see what it is. Her voice is carefully controlled. What I don't understand is why it's in my kitchen, and why you're here when you're supposed to be packing for South Carolina. Because I'm not going to South Carolina. I take a step closer, encouraged when she doesn't immediately back away. I called it off. The job, the partnership, all of it. Why? Because I figured out that I already have everything I want right here. I gesture around the bakery, then meet her eyes. If you'll have me. She's quiet for a long moment, studying my face like she's trying to determine if I'm serious. And the oven? The oven is from the town. Abby organized a fundraiser. Apparently half of Chestnut Creek wanted to help save the Sweet Life. I swallow hard. And I want to help make it happen. If you'll let me. Tears gather in her eyes, but I can't tell if they're happy tears or angry tears. Wes. I know I hurt you. I know I handled everything wrong. But Sadie, you have to understand, I've never wanted anything the way I want this. The way I want you. And that terrified me. So you decided to run away? I decided to take the safe option instead of fighting for what I really wanted. I stepped closer, close enough to see the flecks of gold in her brown eyes. I was wrong. And I'm hoping it's not too late to choose differently. She wipes at her eyes with the back of her hand, and I hold my breath waiting for her answer. You hurt me, she says quietly, but there's no anger in her voice anymore. Just sadness. When you said Chestnut Creek was too small, too limiting, it felt like you were saying I wasn't enough to make you want to stay. That's not what I meant. I stepped closer, desperate to make her understand. Sadie, you're not too small. You're not limiting. You're everything I didn't know I was looking for. She looks at the oven, then back at me. This really is from the whole town? Apparently you have more friends than you realize. Abby said people were practically lining up to contribute. I reach into my jacket pocket and pull out a folded piece of paper. She made me a list of everyone who donated. You can thank them yourself. Sadie unfolds the paper, her eyes widening as she scans the names. Mrs. Peterson, the Millers. Joe from the coffee shop, even the people from the candle company who beat me in the competition? They said something about healthy competition making the whole town stronger. I watch her face as she continues reading. Sadie, you've built something here. Not just a business, a community. People love this place because they love you. She looks up at me, tears flowing freely now. And what about you? Do you love this place? I love this place, I say softly. But more than that, I love you. The words hang in the air between us, honest and terrifying and absolutely true. Wes. She breathes. I love the way you make everything feel possible. I love how you turned a broken oven into an opportunity instead of a disaster. I love that you convinced a grumpy guy to wear a Santa hat and judge a cookie contest. And you somehow made him believe in Christmas magic. I take her hands in mine. I love you, Sadie Graham. And if you'll give me another chance, I promise I'm not going anywhere. She's quiet for a long moment, studying our joined hands. When she looks up, her smile is radiant. I love you too, she says simply. Even when you're not always making the best life decisions. Especially then? Especially then. She steps closer, close enough that I can see every fleck of gold in her brown eyes. You're really staying? I'm staying, I promise, and lean down to kiss her. Her lips are soft and warm, and she tastes like cinnamon and possibility. When we finally break apart, I rest my forehead against hers, breathing in the scent of vanilla that always seems to cling to her hair. Merry Christmas, Sadie. Merry Christmas, Wes. You know, Sadie says, still holding me close, there's something else I've been thinking about. What's that? Your skills, your talents, they're wasted on municipal maintenance, Wes. You're so much better than fixing potholes and untangling Christmas lights. She looks up at me with those bright brown eyes. What if you started your own business? Doing what? There are dozens of cabins and vacation rentals in these mountains that need regular maintenance, renovations, updates. City folks who buy weekend places but don't know a hammer from a wrench. I can see the excitement building in her voice as the idea takes shape. You could restore them, maintain them, maybe even help people design additions or improvements. It would be real construction work, meaningful projects, but here in Chestnut Creek. I consider this, the possibility settling in my mind like a piece of a puzzle I didn't know was missing. I never thought about that. You should. You have all the skills, you know the area, and you understand what people need. She squeezes my hand. Plus, you'd be your own boss. Build the kind of business you actually want to run. Parker Restoration and Maintenance, I say slowly, testing the words. They feel right on my tongue. See? You're already thinking like a business owner. Outside the bakery windows, snow begins to fall in fat, lazy flakes, dusting the already magical town square. The Christmas lights twinkle through the white veil, and I can see families hurrying past with last-minute shopping bags and excited children pointing at decorations. Chestnut Creek glows around us like something from a fairy tale, but the real magic is right here in my arms. And I'm not about to let it go.
Epilogue. Sadie. Chestnut Creek, 1 year later. The sweet life is winding down from another busy day when Dr. Jack Bennett pushes through the front door with his 7-year-old daughter Nora. I recognize them both, Jack from the few times he's stopped by for coffee between patient calls, and Nora from her bright red backpack and the way she always presses her nose against the display case like she's studying fine art. Just made it, I say, glancing at the clock. 5 more minutes and I would have been closed. Sorry about that, Jack says, running a hand through his dark hair. He always looks slightly frazzled, like he's perpetually running from one responsibility to another. Long day at the clinic, and someone insisted on hot chocolate before we go home. It's tradition, Nora announces solemnly, climbing onto one of the stools by the counter. Every first day of December, we get hot chocolate with extra marshmallows.
Ah.
A Christmas season kickoff, I say, already reaching for the milk. I can respect that tradition. While I prepare their drinks, I notice Nora fidgeting with the straps of her backpack, unusually quiet for a girl who typically chatters about everything from school projects to the birds outside her bedroom window. Everything okay, Nora? I ask, topping her hot chocolate with an extra handful of mini marshmallows. Daddy hired a new babysitter, she says, not quite meeting my eyes. Her name is Holly and she's coming tonight. That sounds nice, I say carefully, sensing there's more to this story. She's not Mrs. Henley, Nora continues. Mrs. Henley knows that I don't like the crusts on my sandwiches and that I have to check under my bed for monsters before I can sleep. What if Holly doesn't know those things? Jack's expression softens as he looks at his daughter. Holly seems very nice, sweetheart. And she'll learn all your important rules, just like Mrs. Henley did. But what if she doesn't want to learn them? What if she thinks they're silly? Then she wouldn't be the right person to take care of you, Jack says gently. But I have a good feeling about Holly. She came highly recommended. I slide their hot chocolates across the counter, my heart squeezing at the worry in Nora's big brown eyes. You know what I think? I say, leaning on the counter. I think anyone who gets to spend time with you is very lucky. And if Holly is half as smart as your dad thinks she is, she'll figure that out pretty quickly. Nora considers this, taking a tentative sip of her hot chocolate. Do you think she'll like Christmas cookies? I think everyone likes Christmas cookies. And if she doesn't, well, that just means more for you. This earns me a small smile. That's true. The bells jingle as Wes enters, crumpet padding beside him. He's wearing the same red Santa hat I made him wear last year, though now he puts it on without complaint. Ladies and gentlemen, he announces, the Christmas tree lighting starts in 20 minutes, and your escort has arrived. Sorry, I'm running late. Just finished installing new kitchen cabinets at the Peterson Lake house. Perfect timing, Jack says, standing and helping Nora with her backpack. We should head home anyway. Holly will be there soon. Good luck tonight, I tell Nora as they head for the door. And remember, anyone would be lucky to be your friend. Thanks, Miss Sadie, Nora says, her smile a little brighter now. After they leave, I start my closing routine while Wes helps stack chairs. It's become our evening ritual, him showing up as I close, both of us tidying up together before heading home or to whatever town event is happening that night. Ready for the tree lighting? I ask, hanging up my apron. Actually, Wes says, and something in his voice makes me look up. Can you stay back for just a minute? There's something I want to talk to you about before we go. Everything okay? More than okay. He takes my hands, and I notice they're slightly shaky. Sadie, this past year has been the best year of my life, I finish softly. Mine too. He brings my hands to his lips, pressing a gentle kiss to my knuckles. And I don't want to waste any more time pretending I'm not completely crazy about you. My heart starts beating faster. Wes. I know we talked about taking things slow, about not rushing into anything major. He lets go of my hands and reaches into his jacket pocket. But this past year has shown me something important. When you're with the right person, when you wake up every morning grateful that they're in your life, waiting doesn't make much sense anymore. He drops to one knee right there in the middle of my bakery, pulling out a small velvet box. Sadie Graham, will you marry me? The ring is perfect, a simple solitaire that catches the light from the Christmas decorations still twinkling in the windows. But more perfect than the ring is the way Wes is looking at me, like I'm the answer to every question he's ever asked. Yes, I breathe, then louder, yes, of course, yes. He slides the ring onto my finger with hands that are definitely shaking now, then stands to kiss me properly. I can taste his smile against my lips, feel the way his whole body relaxes like he's been holding his breath for weeks. I love you, he murmurs against my forehead. I love this life we've built together. I love you too. I hold up my hand, admiring the way the ring looks perfectly at home there. Though now I'm wondering about timing. When were you thinking for the wedding? Well, he says, looking slightly sheepish, I was hoping you might say Christmas Eve. This Christmas Eve? That's 3 weeks away. I know it's soon. But Sadie, we've already waited a year to get engaged. And Christmas Eve is when everything changed for us, when I got snowed in here and realized I was falling in love with you. He tucks a strand of hair behind my ear. Besides, you're the most organized person I know. If anyone can plan a wedding in 3 weeks, it's you. I think about it for exactly 10 seconds. Christmas Eve it is. But I want the ceremony at the old Episcopal church. The one with the history. The one where the first service was held on Christmas Eve in 1821? That's the one. If we're going to do this, let's do it right. Wes spins me around the empty bakery, both of us laughing like teenagers. Outside, I can hear the crowd gathering for the tree lighting, but for right now, this moment is just ours. Come on, fiancé, Wes says, grabbing my coat from the hook. Let's go tell the whole town we're getting married. Wait. I catch his arm before he can open the door. Thank you. For what? For staying. For choosing this. I gesture around the bakery, then rest my hand over his heart. For choosing us. Thank you for making me believe in Christmas magic, he says softly. And for proving that the best things in life are worth staying for. Hand in hand, we head out into the December night, where the whole town is gathered around a towering Christmas tree, waiting for the lights to come on. And as Mayor Davidson flips the switch and Chestnut Creek blazes with holiday beauty, I can't help but think that this is exactly how every Christmas story should begin. With two people choosing love, choosing home, choosing each other. The old Episcopal church looks like something from a Christmas card, all stone and stained glass with snow dusting the pointed roof. As I stand at the back of the sanctuary, clutching my bouquet of white roses and pine branches, I can hardly believe this moment is real. The church is filled with what feels like half of Chestnut Creek, Mrs. Peterson and Mrs. Carter in the third row, Joe from A Regular Joe giving me a thumbs up, Tom Miller and his family, even the owners of the candle shop who beat me in last year's contest. Dr. Bennett is here with his daughter Nora, who keeps whispering excitedly to a young woman with dark hair who must be Holly, the babysitter they mentioned. But all I can really see is Wes, standing at the altar in his best suit with Crumpet sitting in the front pew wearing a red bow tie. When our eyes meet, he grins, and I have to bite back a laugh at the way his face lights up. Abby starts playing Silent Night on the small piano, and I begin my walk down the aisle. I insisted on walking alone. After building a life on my own terms, I wasn't about to let someone else give me away at my own wedding. About halfway down the aisle, I catch Wes's eye and wink. His grin gets even wider, and I can see him fighting not to laugh out loud. When I reach the altar, I hand my bouquet to Abby and take Wes's hands. They're warm and steady, and holding them feels like coming home. Hi, I whisper. Hi yourself, he whispers back. You look beautiful. You clean up pretty well yourself. Pastor Williams clears his throat gently, and we turn our attention to him, though Wes keeps my hands firmly in his. Dearly beloved, Pastor Williams begins, we are gathered here today, on this most holy of nights, to witness the union of Wes Parker and Sadie Graham in marriage. The ceremony is simple and perfect. We've written our own vows, and when it's Wes's turn to speak, he looks into my eyes with an expression so tender it takes my breath away. Sadie, a year ago, I was a man who complained about Christmas decorations and avoided anything that looked like commitment. You taught me that the best kind of magic isn't the flashy, overwhelming kind. It's the quiet, everyday kind that happens when two people choose to build a life together. His voice is steady, but I can see the emotion in his eyes. You taught me that home isn't a place you're stuck in, but a place you choose to stay. And I choose you, every day, for the rest of our lives. When it's my turn, I have to blink back tears before I can speak. Wes, you showed up to my life at exactly the moment I needed you most, even though I didn't know it yet. You fixed my oven, helped me save my business, and taught me that sometimes the most practical thing you can do is follow your heart. My voice wavers slightly, but I push through. You proved that the right person will choose to stay, not because they have to, but because they want to. And I want to choose you, every single day, for the rest of our lives. When Pastor Williams pronounces us husband and wife, the whole church erupts in applause. Wes kisses me, and I taste salt from my own happy tears mixed with his smile. The reception is at the Sweet Life, which Abby and half the town decorated while we were at the church. I barely recognize my own bakery. Tables are laden with treats I made over the past week with help from friends who insisted the bride shouldn't have to cater her own wedding. There's dancing to Christmas music, toasts with sparkling cider, and enough laughter to fill every corner of the space. As the evening winds down and guests start heading home to their own Christmas Eve traditions, Wes and I step outside for a moment of quiet. Snow is falling softly, and the whole town sparkles with Christmas lights. So, Wes says, wrapping his arms around me. How does it feel to be Mrs. Parker? Perfect, I say, and I mean it completely. Though I think I'll keep Graham for the bakery. The sweet life has a nice ring to it. Whatever makes you happy. He spins me around on the snowy sidewalk, both of us laughing like children. I love you, Sadie Graham Parker. I love you too, Wes Parker. I look up at the snow falling around us, then back at this man who chose to stay, who chose me, who chose us. Ready to start our first Christmas as a married couple? I'm ready for anything, as long as it's with you. We head back inside to gather our things and say
Goodbye.
to the few remaining family and friends who are helping clean up. Abby is already boxing up leftover cookies, and Joe is stacking chairs with the quiet efficiency of someone who's helped close down many a community event. I watch my husband laugh with some of the guests, including a couple whose mountain cabin he'd restored earlier this year, people who've become friends through his thriving Parker restoration business. Thank you, I tell them all, meaning it from the bottom of my heart. For everything. That's what family does, Abby says simply, and I realize she's right. This whole town has become our family. As we turn off the lights and lock up the bakery, Crumpet padding sleepily beside us, I can't help but think that this is what Christmas magic really looks like. Not perfect, but real. Not flashy, but lasting. Just love, choosing to stay. And in a town like Chestnut Creek, that's the very best kind of magic there is. The end. This has been a very Chestnut Christmas. Written by Susanne Ash. Copyright 2025 by Susanne Ash. Production copyright 2025 by Susanne Ash. Thanks for listening. Please like and subscribe if you want me to put more of my books on YouTube.